Oh, maybe. Maybe. I wish I can read what emojis he posted there. Oh, is that a double twister?
2 twisters.
2 twisters? Does he got the chat in a tailspin? CBS used that right before the Golden Globes. They dusted it off. The CBS special.
Did they use the original one, like the old school one?
They changed it a little bit, but yeah, it started off like the OG. And
Wow.
it was for the Golden Globes. And I couldn't remember why, and I was like, all right, because it's NBC lost the deal. Last year was on NBC, and I think because they tried to stream it on the cock. and nobody wanted anything to do with it. And now Peacock might be losing WWE to Amazon. They do have one NFL game they're going to be streaming.
Eventually, the Peacock will just become the Office network.
Exactly.
The Office app. For only $9.99 a month, you have all the episodes of The Office. And they play continuously in the background without any effort. It's just a stream.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what's strange is they got the rights to like Friends and Seinfeld, but I guess they make more money selling it off than they do just showing it themselves.
Yeah.
I think everybody's going through that, right? You were talking about that. Max went and sold a lot of their library rights. Yeah. NFL and WWE have always done that. I mean, WWE teased a little bit that maybe everything was going to go to the network, and then they said screw it and sold the whole network to Peacock.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, you just have to think about your options there. It's like, do you want $5 billion up front, or do you want to try and sell bits of it for $9.99 a piece?
Right, exactly. And that's what it comes to.
I mean, that's the stuff they teach you in business school.
Yeah, make money.
To tell the difference between those kinds of deals.
To tell the difference between a business and a hobby, you need to be bringing in the money.
Yeah.
And 2024, I have a feeling, even though Tony Khan's kind of losing his mind a little bit, that doesn't mean he's not going to cut that deal with Max. That's the rumor.
You can tell me about it later, but I want to hear about that. I'm behind on wrestling, so I just need y'all to catch me up.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have Mike B in here and talk about it, but yeah, it just got me thinking. I wonder how much CBS is paying for the rights for the Golden Globes, because the Academy always sits with ABC. What's up, YouTubes?
I hit the wrong button. I'm just losing touch here. We need to do this more often.
I mean, yeah, we had a steady cadence, and then we were just kind of popping in.
Yeah.
And now we're going to take a little bit of another breather for a month or so. Life is in a tailspin.
If you would like to have your own podcast in DI Studios,
come on by.
Send us a DM.
Hit us up in the DM. So we were talking about the Golden Globes, and you said you caught just a little bit of it. I watched the football game, and then I went back and watched it and saw the suffering that poor comedian went through, where Michael Che of Saturday Night Live Weekend Update guy, who's freaking hilarious, and he has his Instagram where he usually just put one post, and it's just words of what he's thinking, and then he deletes it because he wants no proof. But he thinks comedians should be banned from hosting award shows. He says it's a losing battle. He's like, you can't win.
I mean, they don't need to ban them. They just don't accept the gig. But I mean, people need work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, do you want to stay home, or you want to wrestle as a Ninja Turtle for $100?
Yeah, in the circle, in your entertainment circle.
Yeah, I mean, come on, work is work.
I think this guy, who I never heard of, I don't know if you heard of him, Joe Coy. Someone said maybe he's married or dating Chelsea Handler, which I heard of.
I heard something like that.
But just think that you went from Ricky Gervais, who just roasted the room a couple years in a row, and then they brought in Tina Fey, right?
Yeah.
This is a high bar. And what was her partner? The other girl that does it with
Amy Poehler?
Amy Poehler, Parks and Rec and 30 Rock.
Yeah.
And then they just give this guy who I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And I felt bad, but
I've heard of him. He's one of the many Netflix specials kind of guys that do Netflix specials.
Yeah, and we'll get into that because there's an award for that now, apparently.
I guess so.
There's an award for that, but
I missed his monologue. I'm glad I missed it. I didn't want to revisit, honestly. That's always my least favorite part.
It just felt really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He just reminded me of like somebody who's not normally tells a joke, but then he saw something really funny, so he's like, I'm going to try this. And then he's not sure if people are laughing at him or with him, and they didn't know what to do, so he kind of backed off. Then he'd back off, and then he'd go in again and back off, but it's pretty intimidating.
It's literally the Dundies. It's what the office, the Dundies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got all these people here who are there to hopefully get awards for their work that they're really proud of, and then the host is just there. Y'all are a bunch of idiots, by the way. and and you're shallow. You know what I mean? And the things you do are stupid. Now let's get on with the show.
That's pretty much, you just read Ricky Gervais's opening line. Just grab your award.
You couldn't do that at your work awards, right?
No, I don't think you can.
Right? You wouldn't have like a guest host come out and say you're all idiots. Your work is dumb.
Oh, did I move the wrong way? Let me center myself. Get centered.
You can be comfortable. You don't have to sit directly on a mark. It's just
I'm just in a cedar fog, man. I forgot those incredible studios sits in between mountains. And if you're driving through those mountains at night, it just looks like white specters, and then you realize that's poison that's going to be floating in your lungs. It's already in my eyes and nose, and I've only been here like an hour, and I already hear it. But that's the way it goes, and you're in the midst, but you're not. This isn't like the poison from A Princess Bride. You're not building a tolerance.
Yeah.
This poison, does it just keep modifying itself?
No, you just feel it every year, and it just happens.
Why can't we just build up some kind of tolerance like you did in A Princess Bride?
Because it evolves like Jurassic Park. It's smarter than us.
Life finds a way.
It's been around longer. It'll be around when we're gone.
Yeah, these trees are not going anywhere.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about the Golden Globes or what?
Yeah. Let's talk about. So
what do you got a list there? What you got?
Yeah, I got the list of the winners. So I was kind of surprised on some of them. So we'll start with, let's give a shout out though to Natalie Kingston. She the night before won an Emmy. So we talked about this earlier. She was a second AC on the film I did in 2009 that I wrote and produced.
And you got this sweatshirt from her, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This
red.
was from that
got
shoot.
The red because we shot it on 2 reds. So, but back then she was just working for reps, because that was like film school on that couple acres of land. That was
she did it for the exposure.
Yeah, and now she's a cinematographer on the Black Bear. That
was that
Apple
one
Plus.
with Walter Hauser or whatever.
Yeah,
I heard it's good.
Yeah. So it was very cool to see.
Now she has an Emmy. Where's y'all's Emmy?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw somebody, I think it was one of the editors, like, now maybe For Whom He Tolls can get out there in the light of day.
Y'all must have won Emmys like years ago.
Well, it's funny because we talked about this before. We were shooting it with we need a face for the box idea. And if you know what that means streaming did not exist yet.
Yeah.
So we were trying to worry about DVDs. So
that was back when the plan was, we'll get one copy in every Blockbuster video.
Exactly. And that doesn't work.
We'll be rich.
And that doesn't work anymore. So it probably needs to be like digitized and cleaned up. And I don't even know what that entails. Just to do that, that's going to take some money. And then you're going to have to get it. How do you get it onto a streaming network now? I feel like, do you just self-upload it now? I feel like Amazon Prime is up to that point, right? It's like, just upload your movie.
I think you can do that to a certain extent.
Right? But
you have to have like broadcast standard type of things.
Yeah.
In the finishing, but yeah.
And that I don't know for there. But
like you don't want to give anybody an epileptic seizure from the movie. That's a real thing.
That is a real thing. So, but anyway, yeah, Golden Globes. So we knew. I had a feeling it was going to be Barbie versus Oppenheimer, but I feel like Barbie only really won 2 awards, and one of the awards feel like it was made up just for Barbie.
That was the Blockbuster Entertainment Award or something like that?
Cinematic and Box Office Achievement.
I mean, yeah, sure. That's great. Yeah, it feels like they made it up just for Barbie. Yeah. Did that just happen last minute?
I don't know, but there was 2 new awards, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
And then the second one was the Outstanding Stand-Up Comedian Award, or a stand-up special award.
Barbie won that?
No, Barbie did not win that. Surprisingly, Ricky Gervais won that, and I just thought he had so much heat with the Golden Globes. But then I guess the Golden Globes, what do they call them? Not the French Foreign Legion. But they Hollywood Foreign Press.
The Hollywood Foreign Press is the Globes, yeah.
But now they changed their name. Even RDJ called them out for it. Robert Downey Jr., Golden Globe winner.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm glad you changed your name and your ways or something like that. And it sounded pretty ominous.
Yeah.
But
I mean, what did they do? Well, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. I think
I don't
they
even
did
know
some
what they
politically
did.
incorrect stuff.
Yeah.
Because I thought the whole thing with Golden Globes was like, we have this made up award, and we have open bar, and they invite all the celebrities. Because even celebrities will show up for open bar.
Yeah.
If it's like anything top shelf, they're going to go.
And CBS leaned in, where I feel like NBC was trying to get away with it, where CBS leaned into it. They're like, come join us, where they're celebrities and they're partying, and you never know what they're going to say.
Yeah, because they're hammered.
Yeah, so I was
Come watch celebrities get hammered was the gimmick. If it was a pay-per-view special.
So you're waiting for that live moment of something to happen. So it feels a little less polished. And I think that's why I've always enjoyed watching them. And there's a couple memes that came out of it this year. The biggest meme that I've seen that came out of it was Selena Gomez gossiping with Taylor Swift over somebody refusing to take a picture. What's Wonka's name? Timothy Chalamet, and the girl he's dating, Kylie. I don't know. It's one of the Kylies I don't know. Anyway, they denied Selena Gomez a picture. And they had a lip reader come in there and change and read what she was saying, and she was gossiping. They just said, "No, I'm not going to take a picture." And now that's a meme. Your show's a success if you get at least one meme out of it. And they got a meme.
They're going to get plenty of memes. Yeah, no, that was. I mean, I saw the one with. Well, I mean, I watched the whole show. I thought it was pretty good. I missed the monologue, which I was happy about.
Yeah, you didn't miss much.
It was on. I was eating a hamburger and I saw it on the screen. I was like, "Oh, Globes are on. I'm going to go home," and I missed that monologue. But whatever. I thought overall it was a pretty good show. There was some memeable moments. I liked Jennifer Lawrence's.
Oh, she did. Yeah, she's great. I think I wish she'd lean more into the comedy. I watched the No Hard Feelings. She was good.
Yeah, she's trying to do that swerve into like comedy lead kind of thing.
Yeah,
Sandra Bullock-y kind of a vibe, but
there's nobody who's done that. I know Jennifer Aniston was leading into that with Horrible Bosses and We're the Millers. And
there's no market for that anymore. There's nowhere to put those movies.
Yeah,
they just end up on Hulu or Netflix. So, but she's trying to do that. She should team up with somebody. She needs a good director.
And it was a little bit of a shoot with her, like, if I don't win, I'm leaving.
Yeah, why would you stay?
And yeah, you just couldn't tell if she was joking or not. Now, like, that's good comedy when you can't tell if they're joking, right? We know in wrestling, if you can't tell if it's a work or shoot, that's box office.
That's money.
So when she said that, I was like, ooh, was she kidding? But she was doing it with a straight face, so I enjoyed that. What else did we get? The notables. The movie you recommended and watch, I'm glad I got to watch it. Paul Giamatti won for The Holdovers, and then he celebrated at In-N-Out. And that picture was floating around, and he was just eating his fries, dipping his fries in some ketchup, and he had the Golden Globe sitting right there. But then I saw Al Yankovic doing that with an Emmy, and I was like, did that just happen? Like, is that a thing? Or who did it first?
The first one I remember. Well, I mean, I was thinking when I saw that because of Sideways. Remember Sideways?
Yes.
Did you see that at the end of the movie? That's like his last scene where he's in the tuxedo and he's eating the hamburger.
Oh, yeah, wine. Maybe that's what they did.
So that maybe he was just doing that, but that was cool. I remember I've seen several celebrities do that. The old fast food after the awards show.
And, yeah, I enjoyed that. But that was a good flick. Check that out, the Holdovers. It was an Oppenheimer night, right? You got RDJ, supporting actor. Cillian Murphy got the actor award. Drama Best Picture was Oppenheimer, and then Christopher Nolan got his golden trophy. Not bad. It's not the little golden man, not yet, but I have a feeling it's gonna be. Well,
it was the two winners were Oppenheimer and Poor Things. So
Poor Things.
It's going to be one of those two, clearly.
I am so happy that Sexual Frankenstein is a thing, and now it's winning awards. That is definitely the movie. Then you walk in, and I don't know how any other.
That's like an Isaac Hayes album from like the late 70s.
Sexual Frankenstein. Just because I really enjoyed that movie because. Anybody could have made Poor Things, and she's sitting at the table, and she could have grabbed the banana and brought it downtown, but she brought an apple. And that's when I'm like, all right, I don't know where this is going, but strap in, I'm going for the ride. But you are predicting that Emma Stone's going to win the Oscar as well. You think that's a thing? Because it did win Best Musical or Comedy Picture, and it did win, and she won for Actress. Did anybody else? And I don't think anyone else from that. I don't think our boy won. Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, I think it was just her.
Yeah, Ruffalo didn't win. Who got supporting? I can't remember. You have the list there?
The female supporting was... I just had it. Sorry, my eye is twitching. Lily Gladstone.
Oh,
for
right.
Killers
okay.
of the Flower Moon.
So it's down to her and, damn it, who was the other one? She won Best Actress, not supporting. She won Best Actress.
You're right. She won actress in the... Yeah, that wasn't supporting. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, supporting actress was from Divine from The Holdovers.
That's right. Okay, so
Yeah.
she'll win. She'll definitely win the Oscar. I'm pretty sure that's a lock. And it's a great story, great movie. They're going to want to give that movie some Oscars.
Yeah.
Because, again, award shows are all the Dundies.
The Dundies.
But I think they're going to want to give her the Oscar. Best Actress is definitely... It's Emma Stone or... Who's the other? Or Lily Gladstone. That's going to be a toss-up. It's going to be a big toss-up. I think the Oscars would love to give it to Lily Gladstone, but...
Oh, you're right. They're going to be battling out for that, aren't they?
I think Emma Stone is really good in Poor Things, so that's going to be a toss-up.
Yeah, she was great in that. Oh, sorry, Mike. Are we doing weird beers today? I can't. I'm still. I'm fasting for some blood work.
Then probably not.
No beers. I would tell him no beers.
Yeah, I see he's on the call, so we'll bring him in after the Golden Globe segment.
Okay, cool. What else did we have? Also for TV series, because that is also why I like the Golden Globes, because your worlds collide. Chocolate and peanut butter. You get your movies and you get your TV/streaming. So they do shows as well, which, by the way, maybe it's just Oscars only. Doesn't a film have to have a theatrical run to be eligible for an Oscar and or Golden Globe?
Yeah, but like Netflix will just put it in at the Dollar Theater for a week, and that's enough.
Because I was wondering if the Holdovers actually did the Holdovers get a theatrical run?
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it played for a while at the Alamo here, so it got a run.
Okay, so then it's going to be eligible. You're right between Lily Gladstone. I think they're going to go full circle with that Marlon Brando moment.
Yeah.
Of having the Native American accept the award, except now it's not going to be as a protest. It's going to be a welcoming award.
Yeah.
Secession, I guess, because it was the last season. They're going to give it its flowers, even though that means Barry and Ted Lasso, who also had last seasons, got snubbed for the Secession last season.
Succession was just unstoppable.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry for Barry and Ted Lasso. Everybody at my church loves Ted Lasso, so they can be proud of that. It's part of many a sermon. But if you got Succession is just unstoppable. I mean, like my mom was watching that, right?
Yeah.
She got pulled into that and watched every episode. So
4 seasons, only 2. Only 4 seasons, right? Yeah. And in case you're wondering if pro wrestling is everywhere, Kieran Culkin told Pedro to suck it.
I saw that.
From Degeneration X fame. Told him to suck it. So I thought that was interesting. What else did we have in there that was really outstanding? Oh, it was the Battle of the Songs. And you said Barbie's going to beat itself, because we were wondering if we were going to get Jack Black versus Ryan Gosling at the Oscars battling it out for original song. And then you're like, Barbie's going to beat itself. And you're right. Billie Eilish did.
Yeah.
With what I was made for.
She's going to take Ryan Gosling's Oscar that he really wants for that song.
I feel like he really does. Like, right? Didn't he do like a Christmas version? And they done a version. It's like it's like that thing you do, right? You're going to make this for a Christmas album. You're going to make one in Spanish. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what he is doing.
Yeah.
But if I was booking the Oscars, I would still make it like it's going to be a race like They Had a Shot. Just to get them both to perform.
Well, yeah, they're going to want to get them to perform.
Just because Jack Black is freaking over. He's like so over.
Yeah.
I mean, he went like to the stage where like he came out of nowhere. We talked about this, and then he blew up, and then he was everywhere. But he was always over because of his band. But now I feel like he's becoming the celebrity that celebrities like to take a picture of, because of his TikTok account, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But I saw...
The celebrity that celebrities like to take a picture of?
Yes, take a picture with.
Okay.
Because everybody was like marking out over Jack Black. They showed it on a TikTok, and I was looking at it, and they showed everybody trying to make time to talk with Jack Black. So if you have him at the Oscars, playing Peaches on the piano, you don't tell me that dude's not going to bring the heat. And then Ryan Gosling's going to have no choice but to bring the heat too. I want to see that battle.
Absolutely. And Billie Eilish does the run in, and she just wins Money in the Bank.
Even if those two just battle it out and then she wins, that's fine, because in the end, hers have the emotional heartstrings. I mean, that's the part in Barbie that you're going to cry at. So that is the reason it's definitely going to win the award. But if they just want fun, I would have those two battling it out. I would make that the main event, where they might have to rebook the shows. Like, usually we do Best Picture at the end, but this freaking music shit's going crazy. We got to do this at the end.
Yeah.
And just have them battle it out. And you can have a referee stand there in the middle instead of just saying, and the award goes to, have them both come up. Like, you don't know which arm they're going to raise. They just really need to book that. Call us if you want us to direct the Oscars. We can't be any worse than... Was the Smack 2 years ago or last year? Was the Smack 2 years ago or last year?
That was two.
Was it already 2 years ago?
No, that was last year. Was that last year? No, 2 years ago.
I don't know. It had to be 2 years ago. That was a meme that we made that I feel like the internet was trying to snuff it out. They want you to forget that it happened.
They weren't ready for it.
No.
They weren't ready to discuss it.
Yeah, we have a sweet meme, so check that out, where we just superimposed Chris Rock's voice on the alien from Independence Day.
Yeah.
That's one that I still pop for. But yeah, all in all, Golden Globes, the ratings were a little bit up, and the entertainment value was a little bit up. Not that I ever had a problem with drunk Ricky Gervais making fun of people, but I feel like this is going to be a little bit more approachable.
Yeah.
Why do people get... I mean, I understand why they get so angry over Ricky Gervais, but like, he's just pretty much a straight shooter with upper management written all over him. He says things that make you feel uncomfortable, but he's pro people. He's pro puppies. He wants you to do the right thing. He's just going to make fun of you when you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the format in which that all happens. Again, it's like you start the show by roasting everybody who's there dressed up to try and win an award. It's just a bad setup for a show. It puts everybody in a bad mood. The things seem way more offensive because it's like, if they got dressed to come and get insulted, it's more offensive. It's just the nature of things,
That's not what I came here for.
Yeah. And it just comes off as, snarky and mean. It's like, nobody, the roasts we can do roasts separate.
That's true. They should
just do their own. Roasts can be the roast show. The awards should be the award show. Let's pretend like all this matters and is not completely shallow and
and it doesn't matter. It's supposed to be. It's entertainment around entertainment.
Yeah,
but you're right. Anthony said he misses more Norm Macdonald, who was also really great at roasting. I watched him roast Courtney Thorne Smith from Melrose Place fame by accident on Conan O'Brien back in the day when she did a movie with Carrot Top.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I've seen that a million times. And of course, he hosted the ESPYs. If you find his clips where he's hosting the ESPYs,
yes,
roasted O.J. Simpson quite a bit.
He did. He hosted him because of the old unaliving thing.
Yeah.
He just says it and then sells it into the camera.
Yeah.
But he roasted Carrot Top, and she just kind of got pulled into it. So, but you're right, Michael Che. You're right, Michael Che's right. No more comedians. Do they get somebody who's going to sing and dance, though? Because you do need to be a little bit entertaining for that opening monologue, right?
Why?
I don't know. Do they need one?
Do you need a stand-up comedy monologue at the front of the awards show?
Maybe you don't. Maybe you're right. Maybe they just eliminate that altogether and just do a nice supercut.
Just like, what did we do back at the old B2B company? We just cut a film of something of some sort. Can we just do that?
Yeah, why don't we do that? You're absolutely right. Forget it. No more comedians.
Yeah.
Let's just get, every year there's going to be a raffle, a digital raffle.
Right.
They're going to pick one YouTuber to make a supercut about all the movies.
Right.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get the YouTubers to watch. There you go. We just fixed your problems.
Call us, CBS.
Yes, call us. The ratings will be gone. The ratings will begun. The only two things before we jump off Golden Globes and pull Mike in, there was two shows that had a good showing, and I didn't see them. One was Beef. So
You didn't see Beef.
No.
Yeah.
You enjoyed Beef?
Beef is really good.
Beef is good.
Beef is one of those things. Like Netflix is like throws spaghetti at the wall all day long, and just every once in a while they make something great. And Beef is one of the great ones.
Really? Because I love Ali Wong, and then what's his name? Also from Walking Dead, he got his flowers. Invincible.
Who did?
Invincible. I don't know. Steven Yeun.
Oh, Steven Yeun.
Yeah, he did great.
Yeah.
I mean, so
no, Beef is really good.
yeah.
Like a very very original piece of like it takes the format in which entertainment is parsed out these days and does something unique with it.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to see it. I didn't see it, and I also didn't see The Bear because Kerry Von Erich won an award. He won the Golden Globe.
He did.
Yeah, and it just threw me off because when I saw him there, I was like, "Oh, Iron Claw did get something." Because I'm just still disappointed it didn't get it, but then he got it for The Bear.
Oh, The Bear is one. Bear is one. Yeah. If you need something to watch with someone, and it's like I don't know what to watch with this person, or it's like I can't think of something, that's one to watch.
The Bear?
Yeah, because it's just so universally lovable.
Really?
And it's not a comedy. It's funny. There's funny parts, but it's just the story they got going is so engrossing. You love it. Everybody loves it.
All right, that's good to know. Yeah, because I didn't know. I didn't know what it was about, but it was one that I've heard buzz, just like Beef, and I just never got around to watching.
I'll just give you the setup here, and from what I tell you right now, what I describe right now, you'll want to go watch it. Jeremy Allen White's character, is a renowned chef, right? One of those highbrow renowned chefs. His brother is Joe Barenthal, who passes away, and so Jeremy Allen White comes home to Chicago to run his sandwich shop.
Oh, you had me at sandwich.
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right, I'm into that.
It's really good.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I rewatched Iron Claw for a second time, and the first time I wasn't sure because I just meeting Kerry, he was so big.
Yeah.
And Alan White didn't have that big, but watching it yesterday, I was like, okay, I got this. I think I think he got it.
For real. And just before you move off of Jeremy Allen White, I'm just throw one thing out there. Wolverine.
Oh, yeah, he'd be a perfect Wolverine.
There you go. Hollywood, can you tag Hollywood in this segment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, he would be a really good Wolverine. Good call.
Anyway, okay, what was your last point?
That was it.
Okay.
I mean, I did know that I did see, I'm a fan of Coleman Domingo, and he's in talks to possibly take the Kang the Conqueror role. He was nominated, but he didn't win. But he's one of the strong front runners that I'm hoping if they are going to go in that direction, I think he can pull it off.
To be the next Kang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo. Because he was in the spinoff for Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah. I'll get behind that. That'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm totally behind that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm into Kang. I'm into Coleman Domingo as Kang.
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo. That's an awesome name.
Yeah, it's such a fun name to say.
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo.
All right, I'm going to bring Mike in here
Yeah.
real quick, and we're moving on to the next thing. It's a 2-star.
There he is. You see him. Soon you will hear him. Then you will feel him.
Mike, you there? Yeah, he's here.
Hello,
Oh,
hello.
what's up, dude? How are you, man?
Yo, boys, how's it going?
Good, man. Good.
Thanks for hopping on last minute, Mike.
Hell yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah,
my
man.
pleasure. Glad that it all lined up. Looking forward to talking some movies, talking some wrestling, having a good time with a couple of my best friends.
Yes, that's
And
right.
I know that it's no weird beer, but I got that message a little late, so
Oh.
I've got an Elysian full contact
Oh, man,
as
yeah.
my little sidecar here.
All right, well, there it is.
You're always welcome. As a viewer of the show should know, you can have your weird beer anytime on your
Yeah,
own.
and always call
You
it
don't
out
have
there.
to wait for us to drink them.
But we do want to hear about it if you are.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, sorry, I was doing some blood work tomorrow, and I had a strict set of rules, and one of them was the no alcohol. But they're gonna have a fun with all the cedars coursing through my veins. What is this white demon nanobot from hell? It is dried white tree sperm, and that is attacking my face currently.
That's fun. That's fun. I think that stuff. I think I got away from that stuff when I left the Texas area. So for me, there's no tree sperm or anything like that, but just constant cover of darkness and the constant threat of rain at all moments that you must deal with this time of year.
Yeah.
That sounds like more intimidating too, because it's just like it's like a looming hammer over you.
Mm-hmm.
It can be psychological, but at least you can stay inside and have no real impact from it as compared to any kind of allergy-based stuff. You just go down for the count, man. I feel for you. Good luck with that.
Yeah, you're right up the street here from Dose Incredible Studios, and I was telling Mario, when you're driving here, you see the specters like in the little few lights that they do have. You see it, like you just see it lurking. So, Mike, all you missed so far, we were going over, last week we did our 2024, movie previews, and we kind of skipped talking about like 2023. But we did think, since it's award season, we pivoted into the Golden Globes just to talk about it, just not too much about it. Just, again, the entertainment around the entertainment. Did you read about any of the results, or did you catch anything, or is there anything notable you wanted to throw in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most notable things about the award show had nothing to do with the awards. I think that's probably in the Golden Globes' best interest long term to continue leaning into that thread.
Yeah.
I think the thing that stands out most to me is how many people were hating on the person that they had come in and host. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it. If it's
Joe Coy. Joe Coy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But coming in to do a role like that, where you're taking a job that nobody wants. You were probably like amongst the last possible people to go on that list. That's already eating away at you psychologically. Yep. Then you go out there and you bomb, and Taylor Swift is memeing the hell out of you with your jokes, and no one is respecting anything. Like, talk about a career nightmare. My heart and soul just goes out to Joe Coy, who took a risk on this gig and is just getting torn to shreds for it, man.
And, I think he was he was Netflix special level comedian, and you could see him at he tours the country at the local comedy club kind of a guy, right? He's got a solid career, not a household name. But now he kind of, unfortunately, is a household name as, a big fat loser.
Yeah. Like, he's like the worst comic. Like, what other comics are getting bad press for how bad their comedy is right now? That's, not where we are as a culture. So seeing that come up for him, man, it's A, it's a nightmare, and B, probably no coming back from that long term.
That's got to be really tough. And, shout out to the whole comedian community. I think they're kind of rallying around him, similar to what you're talking about, Mike, that are just like, this isn't easy and nobody really wants it, and you can't win. So they're trying to kind of circle the wagons a little bit, but I don't know how you repair that other than never doing that again, and then maybe leaning into it. Like, do you go host SNL now and just kind of lean into it and laugh with it, or how do you fix that?
I mean, I think there's a couple ways you go about it. A, lean into it, become the bad comedian. If you are the known bad comedian that tells the worst jokes ever, that's a good enough shtick, I think, to get you somewhere these days. It's like, oh yeah, Joe Coy's coming out. He's going to do some comedy. It's going to be terrible, but we're going to laugh at him, not with him. It's going to be
Gotta
great.
hear this guy, Joey Coy. He's awful. He's so bad. Yeah, that'll work.
I mean, I think that's one thing. The other thing, and this is the one that I think is really risky, and probably the thing that he's going to eventually end up doing, is kind of tell his side of the story of behind the scenes, the jokes getting written and all of this kind of stuff. And basically make a think piece out of it for this audience to potentially reframe the experience. But you could come off really kind of victim painting yourself in that situation, and I think that could really, really backfire.
Yeah.
I guess the third door is just like, maybe just go take a nap, get drunk for a weekend, like, try again in a couple of years.
Yeah.
There was a few times during the opening monologue where he kind of took you out of the moment. He's like, hey, remember, I didn't write all these jokes. I'm just reading them off a teleprompter.
That was
Yeah,
I didn't like that. That didn't help.
It took, not only did it take you out of the moment, but it's just like, even if it's true, and how bad does that have to suck?
You can't bury the writers. I mean, everyone's trying to put the show on here.
You got to take ownership of that shit.
Yeah,
like,
you
you're
said
out there on stage. You have to show your agency. You have to show how much better you are than the writers by responding to the room, responding to what's happening on there, not sticking to the script.
Yeah, exactly.
And kind of riffing a little bit. He went the opposite. If anything was his mistake, that was his mistake. He appeared pretty weak, and that's probably why so many people are ganging up on him now.
Yeah, you might be right. And I think also at a time, Mike, when you're saying that, it just kind of hit me. Are celebrities starting to fight back with the whole, these award shows are fluff that they really don't mean anything? But like, they went from Ricky Gervais, where they basically had to put on the Shamu, poncho because they're going to get wet from all the shit that goes flying, to now, Taylor Swift's like, don't you say that about me being on the NFL, and everybody's not laughing at his stuff. Where before, at least they kind of laughed about it, but now they were no selling anything that was about them, putting them in a bad light. Are they fighting back?
Is it the quality of the opponent, though?
Yeah,
right?
maybe that's why I was like, I think I can take this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't have to placate Joe Coy because he's not going to follow up with anything except for like, I'm sorry you didn't think that was funny.
Yeah.
Whereas Ricky Gervais might be like, oh, I see you, Taylor. What do you, whatever it is that he's going to do to lean into the sipping the champagne moment.
Any celebrity that got roasted, if they were asked to respond, all they have to say is, who the F is Joe Coy?
Yeah.
That's it.
Fucking Jinder Mahal. I mean, Jinder Mahal is the blueprint right now for how you handle this sort of situation.
Who TF is Joe Coy? Watch Academy Awards instead on ABC.
Now that's how you do it if you're Joe Coy. Sign up to host the Academy Awards. Start putting that shit over now.
Would people tune in just to see what he says now? Just like,
yeah.
Okay, I'm changing this. He has a heel turn. Now I'm going to the Academy Awards.
I think it's easier to predictably bomb than it is easier to predictably be successful in that scenario.
Oh man, we got a lot of great booking ideas out of this show just alone. There's so much value here in this first few minutes. Mike, so moving on from the current to the past, are you a fan or familiar with any films from Michael Mann?
I mean, you can't overlook Heat. That movie is maybe on the Mount Rushmore of crime dramas. It's kind of a template for 2 decades of movies that followed from Hollywood. Last of the Mohicans. It kind of stands to me for Daniel Day-Lewis. It was one of my first real exposures to Daniel Day-Lewis, and it was my introduction to seeing method acting in a Hollywood movie. So I mean, there's no overlooking Michael Mann's legacy in Hollywood and the impact that he's had and will continue to have for a long time.
That's too big. So I'll let Mario explain the story of kind of how we came full circle to now we're talking about Michael Mann. Mario, you want to tell your journey, your Michael Mann journey?
So when Michael Mann journey began, like 30 years ago, lots of years ago, whenever Michael Mann was at his peak, I don't know why, for whatever reason, I was anti-Michael Mann. For no logical reason, I wasn't into Michael Mann films, and I didn't want to see him. I think he was already at his peak where he was like a studio darling kind of a guy. So I think at the time I was just like, nah, I don't want to see this guy's films. I'm interested in this indie stuff, whatever. So I never really got into any of his movies. And I never really watched any of them, honestly. I couldn't think of any that I saw. Never saw Last of the Mohicans. Never saw Ali. Nothing. Just none. So anyway, a few months ago, Alamo Drafthouse was playing Thief. So I've never seen Thief. That's Michael Mann's kickoff film.
1981.
Right. And I remember I had heard there's an episode of the Video Archives where they talk about a Michael Mann movie or whatever, and they get into that. And that was a really good episode.
Oh, I believe it was The Keep.
They talk about The Keep. That's right.
Yep.
So I had never seen it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go watch Thief and see how this is. And I thought it was the best movie I'd seen all year. Like, it was so great. The dialogue, the music, so much about it. We can get it. I don't know if y'all have seen Thief.
Oh, yeah.
Recently.
Not
you
recently.
said you saw it like on VHS.
Yeah, it was a VHS viewing.
Have you seen Thief, Mike?
I'm not 100% sure.
Jimmy Kahn, 1981.
Yeah.
If you,
I feel like I've seen it, but not recently.
Yeah.
if you
Same.
consider, you take it into account. It's free on YouTube Premium, by the way, if you have it right now this month. If you, I think if you watch that movie and it's like things just occur to me, just like last night at the Beyond, Jeff, when I told you the thing about Planet Terror, how influential all his stuff was into things that came later. I didn't realize that film Drive was just a complete riff on that entire
Thief.
movie. Yeah, it just pulled me back to a different mindset where people in crime movies can be unlikable and harsh and just like I was telling you this, Jeff, like when you see a typical action film today, you have like John Wick or something. You have shootouts and they bring in ex-Marines and special forces guys to show them how to hold guns. Whereas you look back at this Jimmy Kahn in Thief, and you can tell he has no formal gun training the way he's holding everything, you know? He just holds it like a tough guy. Anyway, if you're really into Heat and you watch Thief, you'll see all the seeds of Heat in Thief. I'll just put that there. But if you haven't seen it,
I feel very similar about Steven Soderbergh and Schizopolis. I think that Schizopolis has that similar kind of like all the roots of his major Hollywood movies are in Schizopolis. It's one of those earlier, much more unstructured, but you get more of a kind of like raw flow through all of the key themes and methods that this creator uses. And then each subsequent movie is kind of like a little bit of a deep dive into a singular aspect of that same thing or a refinement of the overall flow.
Yeah, and like so I saw this and it was like, this is amazing. Why? Okay, I can't believe I was never into Michael Mann. Whatever, I'll keep on going. So thus far, I saw Thief, then I watched Manhunter. Which, have you seen Manhunter, the one of the original Silence of the Lambs films?
Yeah, and that's
that movie is so great. And watching it it was funny. Watched it with Lucha Lati, who's really into procedurals. You know, she's one of those folks that watches procedurals with 50 seasons. Just lets them play in the background.
just let him rip.
Exactly. And it was like really good because you see these people solving crimes with no technology. It wasn't. They didn't have DNA. Yeah. They didn't have fingerprint computers. They were just thinking. And basically, William Peterson, who plays the main detective there,
He plays Will Graham.
His entire special skill is that he can shift his mindset to think like a serial killer.
Right.
And it actually drove him insane when he caught Hannibal Lecter. So that's like his main skill. And I was like, wow, what a premise for a movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty. That one I did watch a few times, especially after the Silence of the Lambs became very popular, and everyone's like, "Well, did you know that the Manhunter was based on that?" And Hannibal Lecter was played by Brian Cox, right, of Secession Now. But everybody, so I think a lot of people after the Silence of the Lambs went back and revisited Manhunter, and I remember that. And like you said, and Will Peterson. I think he was also in To Live and Die in L.A., so it was around that circle that you ended up watching this a few times.
Yeah, and you see like a lot of flourishes in there that you can tell, like Tarantino, took this from Mann. Michael Mann had the original, not the original, but the needle drops that he has in his films are really good. that Inagata Devita at the end of Manhunter, wow. That's just such a great scene, and he times it to where he crashes through the window right on when the drum hit. I don't know.
Oh yes, yeah, I do remember that.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
But anyway,
given the timing of everything, kind of talking about the overlap with Mann and Tarantino, you could almost say that Reservoir Dogs is kind of Tarantino's Michael Mann movie.
Yeah, that's good.
That there's
good
a
call.
lot of key themes that you see across all of these Michael Mann movies that come up throughout Reservoir Dogs. A little bit more slick, a little bit more layered in terms of how it handles the narrative. It's almost like a Robert Altman, Michael Mann love child in a way, Reservoir Dogs. But I also, when I look at Michael Mann movies, part of it for me is also I feel like as influential as his filmmaking is, it feels like there's magic behind the scenes that like Michael Mann to get these movies made in the way that he did them in the era that he did them, he must have been just such a slick motherfucker with these Hollywood producer types.
100%. 100%.
Just kind of get that feel from it.
yeah, definitely. I mean, he worked up to it, right? I mean, he cut his teeth doing TV, so he directed like TV shows and movies by the time he started doing films. So he had some background.
Right, with Miami Vice,
Yeah, he did the
which
original
was
Miami Vice.
very popular. But Mike, you're right. I think about this. Around 1995, he was the one that said, I'm going to be the director for the first time ever that's going to get Al Pacino and Robert De Niro on scene together, right? And it was a big sell back then, right? Because like, well, they did Godfather 2, but it was they were jumping generations, so they weren't on scene together. So that, especially that, I just remember distinctly that scene at the booth when they're talking and dueling. You just had two of the best, at that time, especially the best actors of all time, that everyone referred to them as the best of all time, dueling. And Michael Mann was the one that somehow was like, okay, it wasn't Francis Ford Coppola, it wasn't Scorsese, it was Michael Mann that brought them together on the screen like that. And that was a big deal back then, a huge deal.
It was a big deal when it happened again in Righteous Kill, like 30 years later.
Right, that's right. That's right.
But I did watch Heat. That's one of the ones I saw, and I get it now. I see. Yeah, Heat's great. I don't know why I didn't want to watch it at the time. Just happened. But you watch that scene, like you said, Jeff, where he's getting them together for the first time. But then, if you watch it, they're never in the same frame together.
No.
It's a complete cut back and forth. He doesn't give us that shot.
No.
And that's just like, yeah, that's... I
No,
like that.
and it was a... Yeah, you're absolutely right. And maybe that was part of their contract. All right, we're not going to share the frame, though. But we're going to do a scene
I wonder
together.
if it was a contract thing or Michael Mann just being like, oh, I got it. Now I'm not even going to...
Yeah, I don't need to do it.
I don't need to do it.
That's a very Werner Herzog style approach. It's like I have the beautiful moment with both of them together, but you will never get to see it. Only I will.
Yeah.
You just said that, and a Werner Herzog book just like literally popped up on my screen, like not even right before the show started, and then you said that, and I was like, oh, I thought it was like it's everybody against everybody and God against all or something. What was the book? It was wow. No, sorry, that was a Matrix moment. I just saw Black Cat when you said that. But
so you said Black Cat, not Black Hat, right? Because Black Hat is another Michael Mann movie. Just to bring us back here,
I want to see that. I heard they're releasing a director's cut, which I'm interested in watching.
I think Black Hat is one of those really overlooked movies. It's like an earlier in his career Chris Hemsworth as the lead in a movie. It's kind of like Mr. Robot before Mr. Robot, in that it was one of the first real kind of like cyber crime focused movies that wasn't just like a hacker style movie, but it starred a hacker. And that hacker was Chris Hemsworth, so a very different kind of character than you typically see cast in that kind of role. I was very impressed and surprised by how interesting all of the individual characters were and how that fed into the third act action, and it really made you care about it a lot more than the typical action fare of that time.
Yeah, you're right. I did not see this.
It kind of came and went. It was came out at a bad time of the year, and Chris Hemsworth is just not over unless he's Thor. That's the curse of the Marvel career.
Oh, that's why Tarantino said they're not the stars. They're
It's
the heroes of
funny.
the
He
stars.
said that. Everybody got mad and then realized it was true.
Is that why in the next Mad Max in the Furiosa he made himself unrecognizable? You really can't tell it's Chris Hemsworth's under there.
I mean, he definitely wants to create a different persona.
Yeah,
It
might be a good call.
Look at Mark Ruffalo.
David?
He did Poor Things, completely removed from the Hulk and Bruce Banner.
Yeah, no,
Very
he's-
far. They're all trying to get out from under it.
Yeah,
Chris Hemsworth tried to get out from under Thor while he was still Thor. They've rebranded Thor like 3 times, and in one of the biggest Avengers movies that he was in, he was wearing a fat suit the whole time.
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, you got classic Thor, Big Lebowski Thor,
The dude Thor.
Jack Burton Thor. There's like a Mortal Kombat edition character type things.
And then literally female Thor.
All of his cosmetic skins.
So with Michael Mann, I think, I was just thinking on that, like, why did I miss, like, Black Cat? When everybody knew Thief, and to me, Manhunter was always really big, but Heat, when people talk about Heat, they refer to it the same way that you hear people say, what's the #1 movie of all time, and they're like, Shawshank Redemption. I think Heat was always up there when it came to any kind of crime films, like the perfect crime film, and it was up there, and it's probably top 3 for, probably even #1, maybe for Val Kilmer in there as well. I mean, he made such a huge impact in there. So then after that, there was just a few movies that felt almost like, now you didn't get like the little bit more gritty Michael Mann. He's probably going to win an Oscar, Mike Mann, like with The Last of the Mohegans, Ali. And then it kind of went back with Collateral with Tom Cruise. What were your guys' thoughts on Collateral?
Haven't seen it.
I'll let Mara. Okay.
Oh, you haven't seen it
I've
yet?
only seen those 3 Michael Mann films I told
I'm
you.
shocked that you haven't seen this one.
I saw Thief, I saw Manhunter, and Heat.
I feel like you're going to be blown away by Collateral.
I'm looking forward to watching it. Yeah.
This was Tom Cruise's heel turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this
Yeah.
was Jamie Foxx in a very vulnerable position too. But this felt like the classic Michael Mann that everybody's talking back to. Does that make sense what I'm saying when he pivots between this is going to win an Oscar versus this is going to influence directors for the next 20 years?
Right. He pivots back to his original style, the style that got him over.
Yeah.
Whereas
Well, it's also kind of like at that stage he's doing a hybrid thing, because you look at it and you think, Collateral is almost a mix of his more experimental stuff with his more truly blockbuster successes. And around that same time you have Public Enemy, also
Yes.
the Johnny Depp movie, which was also like an award contender / commercially viable property. So I almost look at it where it's like he goes through this phase of exploration and he kind of finds his bag of tricks. Then he gets really great in this Heat era of doing the best possible version of all of the different movies in his bag of tricks. And then in this third act of his career, it's, combining those things to varying degrees with varying different kinds of focus on different pieces of that puzzle. And, now I imagine that we're going to reset that this new Ferrari movie with Adam Driver is probably the first step in the final act of his director's
Yeah.
work.
Good call. I think you're 100% right there. That does feel like that's the direction it was going, because you're wondering, what does he do next, right? Because
I and just to circle back to Collateral, I think that with that movie probably is less popular than it could have been because of how drastic the heel turn that Tom Cruise
at the time,
took. At the time, it was very jarring, and the audience just wasn't really ready for it. And there may have been too much reality in his performance, that he was leaking his sinister side a little bit too earnestly
Yeah.
throughout that performance.
No, he was a great heel.
So good. So, and he even runs. He even gets a Tom Cruise
He
run
does,
in there
that's
in
right.
Collateral. It's like a movie in cars for the most part, but he figures out a way to like jump out and run through a crowded park.
Yeah, it was so good. I think you're going to be really happy with that. I do remember liking Ali, but I also don't remember that much anything standing out about it.
I
that
never
felt-
realized that was a Michael Mann film.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I'll-
I don't even know if you're right. And maybe it's just because he didn't get his style in there. I don't know.
I mean, it's also kind of tough because I feel like that was right. Like Ali was also right around, and I believe it was like maybe a year or two after the Hurricane came out, that the Hurricane with
Yes.
Denzel Washington
Yes,
kind
you're
of like
right.
set this tone for commercial viability of this type of property, a biopic about a boxer and the story outside of the ring. And Will Smith looked at that and was like, "Hey, I want my Denzel role. I'll do this Ali stuff." And Michael Mann was like, "Okay, well, I would like an Oscar for blah blah blah. I'll take this movie on." And so for me, it doesn't even, it kind of lives in the shadow of the Hurricane and feels more like an awards grab by all the people involved. So it doesn't seem to have as much of the signature flair that his properties usually do.
As always, that's so accurate. That's period.
Eventually, every director decides they want to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
Then they try to make their Oscar film, and if the Oscar film doesn't get over, well, let's try the old Gimmick again.
Yeah, and you can see, like, just kind of cruising through his IMDb.
Well, I mean, what would
see
you?
that
Because
pivot.
here's the thing: is like one of the reasons Michael Mann never appealed to me, or I just didn't take interest, is like at the time, it was a big thing where it's like every director you'd get into had a signature style. You know what a Tim Burton movie looked like. You know
Yeah.
what a Quentin Tarantino movie looked like. I didn't see what his signature style is, and from what I've seen so far, I get a sense of his signature style, which is kind of dreamy, new age. Just like the romantic kind of soundtrack. The characters are just sort of like have their own morality code that they live by, and so when I look at stuff like Last of the Mohicans, which I'll watch eventually, it's like, whoa, that seems like a big change, So what is this, like the signature Michael Mann style?
I mean, I think you kind of nailed it in the fact that the thing that all of his movies do is investigate the gray area of morality with deep character studies, and those can be character studies in an ensemble like Heat, or character studies of a key individual leading movie like Last of the Mohicans, Ali, Public Enemy. And he kind of oscillates between a wide cast of characters where you get great implications for how all the various streams of these individuals are creating this gray space in which morality is not just black and white, right and wrong. Or you get the individual version of that story kind of from that singular perspective, potentially through a flawed narrator that illustrates and kind of gets you to feel the gray morality involved in some of the surrounding pieces, that no matter how great a person is, that there's always a story surrounding them that can make them represent the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, and from what, like I said, from the movies I've seen, and if you haven't seen these in a while, I recommend you go back, start your Michael Mann filmography again with Thief and Manhunter. I see and I think I get this from Collateral as well, from what I've seen. I've seen bits and pieces of it here. He's got this character that sort of runs through all his films, where it's that guy with the gray morality, but still some sort of code that they live by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yep.
you could I feel like the character in Thief is also Robert De Niro in Heat. It's also Tom Cruise in Collateral. It's this persona that he's created that moves
Yeah.
through these crime worlds. So it's interesting to me to see, like, I haven't seen his other stuff where it's more, about history or, biography or whatnot, to see how he approaches that. It's weird because I'm just very much into the front end of his career and that style. Because I can see that coming out in the early 80s and just blowing everybody away, It's just
no doubt.
it's so different, and it takes things seriously. The dialogue is really good. It's just on point. They sound like they know what they're talking about. They don't overdo do the whole thing. Check out Thief. It's free on YouTube. It's so good.
Yeah, there's something about that time period too when you're trying to describe what Michael Mann, like what that signature feel is. And for me, growing up in the VHS generation, my family was really into crime movies. Godfather was goated for them. He was one that his movies, the style was bridging that dirty, grimy 70s feel like Nighthawks with Stallone into he bridged it into the 80s when we talked about, Manhunter, To Live and Die in LA, all these kind of these types of films. He was that bridge.
Yeah.
Anytime you saw him, you feel like he understood the past and had a way to translate it into the present, but you still saw the roots.
I think you're right. He was like that neon bridge with the techno music.
Yeah.
Bringing us into that techno 80s.
Yeah, and it worked really well, and maybe that's, because what is one of the biggest thing that screams the 80s than Miami Vice, and his fingerprints are on not only the series, but the film, which at the time I remember everybody was just floored on how good that casting was, to get Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell to follow, Philip, Michael Thomas, and Don Johnson. But I don't also watching the series so much. I don't remember too much of the film. Like they kind of bleed together.
I haven't seen that one. So did he win Best Picture? Does he have a Best Picture?
I believe. Let's see. Let's pull it up.
What did Last of the Mohicans win?
Yeah, that would be the one that I think would have been the winner if he has one.
That definitely. So Best Picture in 2005, 2000, adapted screenplay in 2000. But what were they for?
Oh, he has 2 Best Pictures.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's baller.
Oh, he was The Aviator.
Oh, The Aviator. That was it. Yep.
No, The Aviator was Scorsese.
Was that? Oh, was he a producer on it? He is. He's listed here with the. Aviator.
Maybe he was a producer then.
Probably a producer. So has he ever won for anything that he is not a producer?
Yeah, let me see.
He won Best Director for The Insider.
The Insider that had Pacino in it, right?
That was Russell Crowe, I believe, but I haven't.
All right, here's his BAFTAs.
Yeah, that was Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe and Pacino.
Well, it says, 2005 Best Picture. It says The Aviator, but what did he do? Did he direct it, or did he...
That was Scorsese, but I mean, he probably produced it.
Oh, yeah, he produced it. Michael Mann, producer, so he won that production award. And then The Insider, he got Best Picture, Best Director, and a Best Adapted...
Oh, Insider got Best Picture. Okay, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Best Adapted Screenplay.
All right, so I'm going to have to watch The Insider.
I don't remember much from The Insider, but I know that Russell Crowe's character is styled strikingly similar to Tom Cruise's character in Collateral.
Yes.
They look visually like he could be that guy 10, 20 years later.
You know what was a pleasant little Easter egg when I was watching Heat was I didn't realize, and I heard it for the first time, that was the film where they got the Al Pacino meme with the great ass.
Oh, yeah.
I never knew where that was from. I'd heard it for years.
I love Al Pacino, especially late career Al Pacino. And when I was in college, me and a bunch of my really close friends, it was from, I believe, Ocean's 13 was where Pacino was the kind of like bad guy casino owner. And in all of his movies, he has these moments where he says "okay" in this particular Al Pacino way, which is like "okay, okay," but he says it like every single time that he talks in Ocean's 13. So we would always go, whenever anyone was saying something, someone would say something stupid, we'd be like, "Okay."
I love it when a group of friends has a pop like that you can always go to. Get the pop.
Okay.
Well, speaking of Heat, if you guys want a treat tonight, treat yourself to DJ Sato's song called STEM, the Cops and Robbers mix, for samples from that diner scene. And hey, it's It's like a song that you can listen to at night. I've actually found it on a playlist called Late Night Mix. And then I'm like, this really chill song all of a sudden starts sampling De Niro and Pacino, that whole thing. What are you going to do? You know, if you're going to take that shot and around the corner, just like, I'm going to do it. I got like that conversation, but they weaved it into the song. Chef's Kiss, really good.
DJ Shadow?
DJ Shadow. It's called STEM Cops in Robbers Mix.
I'll definitely check that out. One of the reasons that I jumped ahead in the filmography and went ahead and watched Heat early instead of going through them in order was I'm going to get the audiobook for Heat 2.
Oh, there's their Heat 2?
There's a Heat 2, and I think Michael Mann's working on making that his next movie.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a game changer. Is it an Audible exclusive? Do you know?
I don't know if it's an Audible exclusive. I mean, I know the book exists. I haven't even looked to see if it's on Audible, but I assume it would be. But
I'm going to have to check
now
that
I'm
out.
going to have to read the actual book. That'll be crazy.
My eyes aren't designed for that anymore. These glasses are at work. But I think you made the right call. Like, because again, if you're talking about, if somebody says to watch Michael Mann film, you literally did what every trilogy should be when you went to Thief, Manhunter, and then Heat.
Yeah.
You would totally do that. And then I'd find a way, like I would say the next films you're going to, I think Collateral you should jump to next for sure. And then probably Miami Vice and Public Enemy if you want to go to their, like the more Insider.
I would include Black Hat in that bag.
Yeah,
I'm going to see Black Hat. I'm going to wait for this director's cut that's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's not fair for me to say because I did not see Black Hat. He's definitely one of the directors that you feel like he should be, his name above the title should draw you into the theaters, but you can see going through his filmography, it's not always that. But you can tell all the actors that he's working with were probably so pumped that like, yes, Michael Mann is directing, we're good.
Yeah.
Shoot, that's all you got to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like he never did that for me, and that's why I just never watched his films.
Yeah.
I felt like he had an invisible style that I wasn't picking up on.
Mario, I would be really interested while you're going through this phase of watching the movies that Michael Mann has directed. Like, it would be cool if you like intermittently also transition to some of those Scorsese movies that he produced and see how much of his style, when you're immersed in his style, do you feel coming through on the producer level? Because he does just, even when he's directing and he's forefront and he's winning Best Picture, winning Best Director, he doesn't really stick in your head the same way some of these auteurs do.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if like he leaned toward production over time because he likes being behind the scenes, but he's still having that same level of impact in some of these properties and basically being a second director.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be super interesting. I'd like to see that.
He wasn't part. He wasn't part of the movie Bratz, right? The directors would. It was Scorsese.
I don't think he was
Brian
because
De Palma.
He was
Lucas.
a working TV director.
Right.
That's where he came from.
Okay, so I don't think he was, but I feel like he would, if there was a second rung of a backup squad, an alternate.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have fell in there. Because he took two swings at series, but they weren't his series. But he directed Dustin Hoffman in Luck for one of that. Remember that series in 2011, and then he did an episode of Tokyo Vice on Max. And I haven't seen any of them, but looking at just the poster for Tokyo Max, I'd be curious to watch that episode just because it feels like a Western journalist working for a publication in Tokyo takes on one of the city's most powerful crime bosses.
This was a pilot?
It's a series. I don't know if he did the pilot but he said he directed 16. There's 16 episodes and he directed one of them.
That's usually how it goes when they a name director is attached to a show. They'll direct the pilot.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, series one, a season one, episode one, the test. And
yeah, they'll direct the pilot and set like the visual style for the rest of the season, and other directors kind of just copy. But
I heard
cool.
you shot a pilot.
That's cool. Damn, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but I was gonna say, oh yes, did you know that he actually made Heat twice?
No, I did not know.
He did it first as a made-for-TV movie.
What?
And you can look it up. I forget. I think it's not called Heat. It's got like a dorky TV name, like.
All right, let's go to his TV
City of
one.
Industry or something like that. It's like
He's got the Jericho Miles, a TV movie, 17 Days Down the Line, Insurrection.
not Insurrection.
Interesting. Because that's a cool, fun fact for sure. Let's see if was it under a writing.
Let me see.
Oh, he directed. He wrote 4 episodes of Starsky and Hutch and 4 episodes of Police Story.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was already working on shows.
Yep,
by the
Bronk.
time
He wrote Straight Time, Swan Song. Yeah, he was definitely already keeping pretty busy. But yeah, The Keep was the movie that they talked about on Quentin's podcast, The Video Archives. I don't know. For me, I don't know, Mike, and we know Mario. I was just really attracted to doing this segment because it just him being such a student of film and student of the game that at one point there was a version of Mario that said no to somebody that's like you would think this version of Mario would say hell yes to. And that to me, that was just like
I thought I was too good for it. I was like, no, I don't like studio films. Here it is, guys. It's where is it? It was called. Oh man, dude, the things are out of whack here. It's called L.A. Takedown.
Really?
L.A. Takedown in 1989, also known as L.A. Crime Wave or Made in L.A.
Oh, interesting.
Los Angeles robbery homicide sergeant Vincent Hanna. He's on the trail of a gang of ruthless professional criminals led by the methodical Patrick McLaren.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea.
L.A. Takedown. Look, he made it as a TV movie first, and it was a flop, and then he did it again.
Why does that sound like that was the version that they released in Asia? Heat, also known as L.A. Takedown.
Yeah, that would be like the Asian version that they remade. They ripped off.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, there's probably a version of Mario out there in the multiverse that loves Michael Mann in exactly the same way that Mario loves Tarantino.
And refused to watch a Sam Raimi film ever.
Yeah, totally. That one. Totally. Too good for that bullshit.
Too good for that. And then they saw Multiverse of Madness and was like, that's pretty good.
I'd love to see the council of Marios where each one of them have a different like major directorial influence in their lives. Oh, that's the Michael Mann Mario, that's the Tarantino Mario. We've got the Chris Columbus Mario back there. He stays in the back.
That would be so good.
Look, I got it to work. Here's LA Takedown. This is the original, the Heat original. Anyway.
Yeah, I had no idea. And it's probably, I wonder how many, and if it wasn't for Video Archives, we probably wouldn't know. Like how many fantastic movies that were made for TV movies that never found their way to get digitized or moved to some kind of format, and they just basically died in that format. There has to be.
Digitizing media is basically erasing entire generations of independent artists that used to be found through used bookstores, used CD stores.
Yeah.
No longer are they even in the mix because there's only room for, on the thrift store shelves, you're only going to put the things that you think are going to sell, and nobody's out there scoping out independent, creations anymore. As even though it's easier than ever to distribute stuff digitally online, it's also easier than ever to just get lost in the tsunami of sheer scale of content that's released. As compared to back in the day, you put something out, you have like 30 CDs, those are going around a small community and you're building up from there.
Yeah.
Really one of the overlooked side effects of all of this, streaming culture and the shift to digitized media.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, when we were talking about for the movie that never got distributed because we didn't find the face for the box.
Right.
when it actually mattered, and it would have been. And
Now you can get AI to make you a face for the box.
That would actually be really good. I mean, if they got that one AI OnlyFans model that just came out that was making like 6 figures a month, and everybody just found out that she wasn't real. Just like, man, yeah, that's. But talking about like TV movies, I mean, Stephen King was like, before he was even bringing things to box office, right? He was found a way to do both, because to me, like growing up, I remember watching Salem's Lot and VHS and not having any idea that it started off as a TV movie, because to me that always came off as one of the scariest movies of all time at that moment in my life, that it was Salem's Lot. And then everyone, when we were talking about Jaws, everybody talked about Duel, which was also just a TV movie. Like, there was a whole, now somewhere along the way it became like, if it was a made for TV movie, it was, well, because it wasn't good enough for theaters. But back then, like you were saying, Mike, it was a chance for an artist to take a swing at something and turn out to be really good, right? John Travolta, The Boy in the Bubble. I mean, there's a lot of these movies that if it wasn't for video archives, we wouldn't even know about them.
I think Stephen King, like all of his A properties ended up being TV events, and all of his B properties were his movies, right? Like his movies are like Cujo, Christine, like weird horror thing with like a big visual thing that happens somewhere either throughout the movie or at the end. Maximum Overdrive, right? Like all of these super weird B style properties. Whereas in TVs, you're getting it, you're getting The Stand,
yes,
you're getting Salem's Lot,
yes,
right? Like
the Langoliers,
classics.
Yes, that were also
because those needed longer to tell the story, right? It was always two-part or 3-part movies.
Yeah.
And they were always so good. And they were always so good. I feel like the first time it got to the point where I wasn't sure if it really worked is when he tried to redo The Shining, just because the original Shining is something different. But I know it wasn't what he turned out to be. But then when you saw it, and it was like it was on TBS, I think, or something, and it just came off as too soft or too, I don't know, too CGI-y. Something about it like really just didn't work.
Yeah, I didn't love it either.
I think it's tough.
Yeah.
That, The Shining, the way that The Shining is creepy is on a different level than The Shining, the book, or any other media that's associated with it. It's kind of hard to escape that shadow.
It really is. And by the way, Mike, next time you're in the ATX, last night we went to Terror Tuesday, at the Alamo Drafthouse, South Lamar, and finally saw the completed construction. And they before they just had like a giant picture and the rug from The Shining, and now they completely leaned into it, where they got holograms and room 237. It's his own theater, and then you got the red rum mirror, a ton of like photo ops, and that's cool. I don't know, they really did. We are a little concerned, like we don't know how there's going to be any space for any kind of festivals and stuff, but if you're there just for the photo ops to create the vibe, they did a really good job. I think it took oh wait, our close-up is NG right now.
It's not working.
Yes. But we guys want to take a quick break? Is there any more Michael Mann? I feel like that was a good walk down Michael Mann lane. I enjoyed that.
I mean, it's probably the most podcast discussion that's occurred on Michael Mann in his career trajectory in years. I guess this is a fun note to end on. I look forward to Ferrari because I love Adam Driver. I kind of think Adam Driver is like a zeitgeist level personality on the level of Tom Cruise. So seeing him get that kind of vehicle is really fun. Though there's something absurdly insulting about the fact that Michael Mann was a producer on Ford versus Ferrari, and then a year or two, 3 years later, he comes out with his own Ferrari movie. He was sitting there in the back, what the fuck are they doing with Ford and Ferrari? It's fucking bullshit. I love Ferrari. We're gonna get a real guy to play Ferrari. I'm gonna make my own Ferrari movie.
I think you're right, and I had no idea he was a producer on there. So that is exactly probably what he did.
Michael Mann has stayed busy.
He has.
Stays getting paid is what Michael Mann stays doing.
Wait, he produced Hancock. He didn't direct Hancock. He produced Hancock. So he did have already some stuff going on with Will Smith. But yeah, that was a good Michael Mann spot. But yeah, if you guys want to take a quick break, I need wash down some of this cedar, and we'll be right back.
All right, be right back.
Yep.
Now, get 2-day rentals on all new releases at Rogers Video.
Hi, Video Sam's got exciting news for you. You can now rent a video overnight and hire these great movies from only 99 cents. But the best news is that by purchasing our special package plan, you can have this VCR absolutely free. Ring now, 892-3311 for details of this amazing offer. You could have a video at home tonight. Remember, 892-3311. Video Sam's libraries are convenient to you.
Movie tonight on video. Movie tonight on video.
You can rent a video player, too. There's a store near you, sweetheart.
Movies tonight on video.
They're helpful and friendly with films for the whole family.
Movies tonight on video. Movies tonight on video.
You've got a thirst to win. Only one soda gives you that extra oomph you need to be your best. Oomph Cola, packed with ginseng, taurine, and Pop Rocks. With the power of Pop Rocks and Cola combined, your stomach lining will be ripped apart by tiny pockets of carbon dioxide. But not before Sweet Victory, Oomph Cola, and Pop Rocks. The deadly soft drink with a taste that's fantastic.
Right, we is back on a Wednesday night, which, you know, it's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It means we're competing with AEW Dynamite. We've got a ton of
AEW Dynamite, 8 p.m. tonight on TBS.
Man, I was just completely, I don't know about you, Mike, that it's just like, I was telling Mario, I was just like, I almost didn't even want to talk about this, but it has to be talked about because it's sad and it's current. And it's ironic that they're heading back tonight to Daly's place, you know, the home of AEW, which got us all through the lockdown when they were doing some of their best work.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, when it comes to pro wrestling, it's a tale as old of time. Wrestlers find Mark with money. Mark with money is really enjoying it in the beginning, and he's booking a lot of the local talent. All of a sudden, he realizes, wait a minute, I'm a promoter, and I can get some of the people that I was a big fan of at one time, and I don't need these local guys anymore who helped build it. Then they lose their mind. Then they lose a building. Then you lose the show. And we're at the stage now where we're dangerously close to losing the building, what you call on indie wrestling, with Tony Khan just kind of like, I don't even want to call turning heel on Twitter, because it doesn't feel like a heel turn. It just feels like a really bad business decision by a billionaire. I don't know, Mike, what is your take on what's going on with, or I guess you want to fill them in on what happened with Tony Khan versus Jinder Mahal versus the social media department at the USA Network?
Yeah, so I mean, I think at a high level, Tony Khan has been active on Twitter talking about AEW in the context of WWE for a long time. And it's been his kind of regular go-to every time that he has one of these Twitter moments where he puts out a series of tweets and replies to a whole bunch of people and just comes off looking really, really weak one way or another in the news cycle, right? That happened again. It had been a period of time since the last kind of outburst from Tony Khan, and WWE's just been continuing to gain momentum, put out a better product, get more excitement, and really just finding the heart of the organization again. Meanwhile, Tony Khan feels like he's lost his smile and is grasping at straws in the cafeteria, trying to figure out why the popular kids don't want to sit with him anymore, and why the people that were his friends from that circle aren't cool anymore. And in that shift, there was a moment, a couple nights, or last night, a couple nights ago, whatever it was, where Tony Khan came out with a tweet. He said, hey, Hook is coming in here with a 28-1 record, and everyone's complaining about the fact that he's going to get a title shot. Meanwhile, on WWE, Jinder Mahal is going out there, and Jinder Mahal hasn't won a match in over a year. How and nobody cares. How does this make sense? And it's like, you go to business school 101, and it's just like, dude, you just did like 5 different things that you should never do. You told people that people are complaining about Hook. You made this a thing now. People are now complaining about Hook because you made that reality. You told people that no one's complaining about Jinder, so now no one's complaining about Jinder. You made that a reality in your situation. And you compared your top belt with the opponent's secondary belt.
Right.
Just lots of major issues going on with that. And we don't even have, that doesn't even get us into the subsequent responses that he made and that others made that made him look very bad, including the USA Network dunking on him, Eric Bischoff dunking on him.
Bully Ray dunking on him.
Bully Ray and Jinder
What did
Mahal.
USA Network say to them?
They asked about the ratings for a cage match.
Yeah. So he made that tweet. USA Network said, "Oh, well, what's the cage match rating for that?" And then Tony Khan responded to that, and he was like, "Oh, well, a moral W for the USA Network is one more win than Jinder Mahal has had in 2 years." Bitch. He didn't say bitch, but...
Well, when he did, the closest he can do with bitch is when he was trying to rebut Eric Bischoff. He showed a picture of Joan Collins from Dynasty, which was the 80s bitch, and then somehow Eric Bischoff turned it around and said her hair looks like yours or something like that. And I was like, this poor guy can't win, man. I had to ask you, Mike, and just like knowing pro wrestling history, and basically now you just did a free promo for the opponent's show. How much was Tony Schiavone squirming? Because one of the big turning moments of the Wrestling War, which is now becoming Wrestling War Part 2, the turning moment was when Tony Schiavone was trying to dunk on Mick Foley and said, "Don't turn to the competition. That's a tape show. And, Mankind, Mick Foley is, one of our previous, secondary guys is going to win the belt. That'll put asses in seats." And then it put asses in seats. It put a ton of asses in seats. So how much was he squirming when he's like, "No, don't make fun of a mid-tier guy, because now Jinder's going to be so over because of you."
Yeah, so we can get to the Jinder being over part when we kind of talk more widely about the context. But it's not just Tony Schiavone, man. It's everybody in the back of that locker room when he's shooting tweets out like that. First of all, a lot of those people back there in the locker room probably know Jinder on a personal level, have worked with him.
Yeah.
Either long tail career or directly at WWE. And so because of what they know about the business, they're squirming not just because of what their booker is saying, but they're squirming because of what their booker is booking and what the opposition is booking. there's no comparison between these two products right now.
No.
And to try to punch up in that way, they have to have like a siren and an alarm in Daniel Bryan's house that goes off every time Tony Khan sends a tweet, so that Daniel Bryan can start writing up the paperwork for his Twitter post fines.
Oh man, I've been loving those memes, by the way, because the people that are even softly turning on him are like Bryan Danielson getting ready to give the biggest disciplinary fine to the boss. They just have him coming out in slow motion. It's like, because it can't get any worse than what he did. I mean, this is bad. It's just coming.
I think my favorite for that one was because they're over in Japan right now. Both Moxley and Daniel Bryan are in Japan because they've had those matches. So the meme with like the two guys roller skating, having a great time, and it's just like Tony Khan on Twitter. Meanwhile, Moxley and Danielson in Japan, and it's them two skating together. Right? I love that one. That one made me pop.
That one I did see that. That one was really good. And it just should be said, and I mean, just as a retired wrestler too, I know what everybody it's like the war is for the fans, because I guarantee all of the wrestlers on both sides of the fence do not want the other company to go out of business, and everybody learned that in WCW, and anyone who was on the fence about that saw the after effects of when WCW went away and what WWE turned into with like the no competition. Everybody wants the boys to make money. So you're absolutely right, Mike, that the boys in the back would never troll one of the guys unless they had like real personal beef, like whether it's like Punk and the Bucks or even Punk and Miz and Punk and Bryan, because they had real heat. But as far as like, they don't want the other company to not do well because they know it's the boys are going to make money. The boys and girls are going to make money, and it's leverage for them when it's time for a contract negotiation, and they're going to make more money. It's the closest thing they can have to a union without having a union is having options.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no one wants anything bad to happen, but at the end of the day, what Tony Khan is doing as a booker, as a promoter, as a social media personality, it's just fucking pathetic, man.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way to look at it. He comes off as exactly the drug-addled rich kid that you kind of paint him as when you first hear about his situation, where he comes from, his opportunities in business and career, and even his position within AEW, all just sort of reek of never having been properly put in his place by the world or by life. And you feel like with the way that the wrestling gods operate, that buck is past due, and that everybody knows one way or another, Tony Khan, not necessarily AEW, but Tony Khan's got to go. He's got to get out of here. He's done. He's done.
Yeah.
He's killing this company with every word that he speaks.
And it's just sad because he has the money and he has the clout, and he clearly knows enough people that he could get in there to basically be his Triple H and run, give them the pencil, hold the book, let them book it. Even if you're still the owner, you should just get out of there. You don't see Shad Khan, telling Doug Peterson what to do at the sidelines at the Jaguars games, and that's kind of what's happening now. Get the right people.
You also never saw Ted Turner on WCW.
You never did. Never.
Right? Like, and
Nope.
I think that's a more apt, it's like, if as a competitive secondary promotion, I think one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is mimicking WWE's structure of public leadership figures. I think you've seen it time and time again. TNA got bogged down by this bullshit.
Oh, yeah,
they started
they did.
bringing in high price talent, and all of them eventually, with the main event mafia and all of this kind of part-time mentality, started to come into play, and it just became a big power struggle. So, like, I can understand as an owner not wanting to give the keys to the members of the asylum in a particular way. If you're a businessman that's coming from a context of making millions to billions of dollars, I'm not necessarily going to be rushing to go to the nearby carnival and give my bank account info to the person running the the balloon popping with dart booth or something like that, which is definitely how Tony Khan would see giving control over to somebody directly from the industry, just based on how he's treated it so far.
Right. And, there's been clearly there was discussions in the past of bringing in Jim Cornette, and that didn't happen. And then he signed an NDA, so you don't know what happened. But you got to wonder that, they had people like Arn Anderson in there and Tully Blanchard. I mean, they had a lot of Dean Malenko. They had a lot of people in there that he could have leveraged, but he just chose not to. And it's still, I mean, you even got Sting there. I mean, Sting's probably not interested in doing it, but you're right. I mean, they're wincing because they've seen it happen before, but they're also wincing because they're afraid that this could end the party, because in the past it has. Now, what is benefiting him is, for whatever reason, he's doubling down on, I'm going to be belligerent and I'm just going to keep doing this because it's my money. I can do this for as long as I want. And now ratings are a little less important because, Mario, what we were talking about earlier, right? Because now you'll just sell the rights. And that's more important. You make more money selling the rights than you do having a highly rated show. And if 2024 is leading into AEW sticking with their deal with Warner Brothers and going to Max, then they're going to pay that money to do it. So he doesn't even necessarily need the ratings. But to me, that would make me nervous that, okay, he's very reckless with this company that a lot of these guys, and as wrestling fans, we all love and want to succeed. He's very reckless. And he's like, don't worry, I can do this forever. What if he gets bored? And now he has nothing, and it's not as popular, and he's like, you know what, this isn't worth it anymore, and he walks away. Then we're back at square one again with no competition, and that's a dangerous place to be.
Well, AEW is never going to go away. It is enough of a valuable entity that also includes ROH and has an extensive library tied to it, right? That includes some matches from a number of the best wrestlers working today from all over the world. That's a valuable asset that, regardless of how inept its leadership is, will continue to be a valuable asset. If NWA still exists, AEW is not going anywhere.
That's true. That's a good way to put it.
Right. So I don't look at it as that dire. I think that from a business perspective, the company is well positioned. They have meaningful names on the marquee that you can take into a boardroom setting that will impress, XYZ sitting at the table that don't know anything about the business. And ultimately, I think that's the company that AEW becomes. I think the saddest part of the entire AEW situation right now is that when it was created by wrestlers with an idealist perspective of what this company could be and what it could do to the professional wrestling industry. When it first came out, you really did get a taste for that. You got to see, how this business could be different, how these matches could be different, how these characters, even though they're the same exact people that were working on the other brand, could be different. And then over time, that's eroded. And part of it, to me, feels like the only thing Tony Khan has ever thought about doing from a business perspective, and potentially even the entire ethos of this organization from day one, was built on the notion of counter-programming, that we can always counter-program against the WWE bullshit that Vince McMahon is shoving down people's throats, and we'll always be better than that, and that will entrench us in this market. But when you're counter-programming against a company that's putting out some of the best content that it's put out probably in about 50 years, and firing on all cylinders and surprising people and playing the dirt sheets and playing the fans to get them more invested, to allow them to be surprised, when you counter-program against that, you become what you were initially counter-programming against. And I think that's what's really turning off most of the diehard AEW fans that are turning away right now, is that AEW feels like the last vestiges of Vince's reign in pro wrestling.
100% true. The disruptors have become disrupted. And ironically, Vince going away was like a breath of fresh air. Even though he's still around, he basically got it. He never came back like he was before. So this feels like something new. So now you're not competing with Vince, an out of touch billionaire who's had this toy for so long. Now you're dealing with Triple H and Shawn Michaels who've lived this business through and through from the very beginning, they started at the bottom. Even Shawn goes back to the territory days, and that's why NXT's doing some of the best stuff it's ever done. And on top of that, and because of that, now you have Triple H basically exploiting and capitalizing on two of the biggest mistakes that AEW made. One, which was letting the fans turn on Cody and kind of leaning into that and then letting him go. They lost that entrepreneurial feel that Cody was doing, because everyone remembers Cody being abused by the Vince McMahon system and writing that list and taking bets and taking chances. And that's why, and then you felt the spirit of Dusty in there with him. And then after a while, they almost turned their back on that. And WWE capitalized on that and realized that, wow, this guy really does care. When Cody's in the ring, when he says, what do you want to talk about? It feels like a shoot. It doesn't feel scripted anymore. And they just pushed that to the side. And then the second biggest mistake was the biggest thing they ever had in that company was the Scrum Ride from Hell. And they're like, okay, this is their biggest moment. They need to make money on this. And instead, they turned it into an HR incident and then left and turned the voice of the voiceless into kind of a weird martyr where some people still, they're leaning into is just like, oh, he's a cancer, he's a demon, he's the devil. But also that they realize that this guy still gets people talking, and he's going to go to this company now, and it's going to feel like a shoot. And whether you love him or you hate him, good, because you're going to have passionate feelings both ways. But it wasn't enough for them to, I don't like that, I'm not going to watch this. If there's people not watching WWE because of CM Punk, I guarantee you it's got to be less than 5%, because people want it to feel like a shoot. I want to go into a wrestling match like I do when I go into a movie. I want to be able to suspend my belief. And now I'm wondering, wow, Seth really does have some heat, but this is WWE. They're going to make money on that. Like you, Mike, when you sent that text, that was some of the best stuff Drew ever did, because he was shooting. And that's why it worked. You need to blur that. And AEW got that, and they threw it away, and now WWE is exploiting that mistake. And now, like you said, they're doing some of the best work they've done in probably since the Attitude Era, honestly. Even I would put this above, the closest they had to that kind of feeling was the Yes Movement with Bryan, which felt a little bit more organic. But I feel like now everybody's got their own little Yes Movement going in there, and they're doing record business because of it.
100%. And also, Jeff, when you said you maybe lost 5% of the audience by signing CM Punk, I thought you were going to say you literally lost like 5 people from signing CM Punk. Exactly. And then you were going to name the people in the elite. Exactly. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks.
Jungle Boy.
They aren't watching WWE anymore. But you're absolutely right, Jeff. Like, the way that I look at it is NXT is developmental for people with high talent and high agency that just don't know how to wrestle. You don't know how to wrestle, but you're a good personality. Come to NXT. We're going to teach you how to wrestle. We're going to make you $1 million asset. Whereas AEW, New Japan, NWA, TNA, all of these are superstar developmental. So you have somebody, WWE has somebody in their career, they reach a certain point where they're either bumping their head against the ceiling and they have nowhere upwards to move, or they're tired of WWE, so they're going to leave, or, whatever reason, they get released or let go. They go and they sign with one of these 4 or 5 other, second tier organizations out there, and they learn how to carry a business on their back. And if they can carry a business on their back, and if they can become the top guy at another organization and make that organization relevant by being the top guy, then WWE is going to sign him. They're going to bring him back. You've seen it happen with Cody. You've seen it happen with Drew.
Yeah.
You've seen it happen with Punk. And I think you can see it happening with some of these folks that they've just recently released, right? The Nick Nemeth promo stuff that he's got going out there.
Oh, so good.
The
Yeah,
things he's
Ziggler.
doing with New Japan feels like this same kind of potential trajectory where he comes back, and the only way he could ever be at WWE and not be Dolph Ziggler, mid-card jobber, bestseller in the game, is by reinventing himself on somebody else's dime.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what WWE is doing with all of this stuff. You get that point? Okay, go there. You want to be Matt Cardona and become a main card draw across all of the indies. Go and prove it to us. We will absolutely hire you back if you can do that. If you can't, have fun on the indies.
Right.
AEW is just another one of those indies now.
You're right.
Retirement home
Man,
for
you're-
WWE wrestlers.
You're 100% right. They've become, now they're just the second tier, and they're going to let you go there and ply your trade and see let's see what you can do. I mean, MJF called it right out, when Regal told him that. It's just like, go out there and see if you can do it, and if you really can do it, you'll be back. Well, it won't be over for you. I guarantee you right now, who I wouldn't have guessed he was going to do it, but he did it before, was Christian's doing some of the best heel work of all. That's still one of the shining stars of AEW. And I guarantee you, he would get a massive pop if that turtleneck came out under the Titantron. It would get a huge pop because they let him, like you said, reinvent himself on somebody else's dime.
Well, it's like I don't know, man. With someone like Christian, I feel like Christian is only really successful when he's punching down.
Yeah.
Right? Like when he's TNA champion, he has that heel persona, and he's able to use that cocky personality to his advantage. In this same situation now with AEW, he's doing the same thing, kind of punching down on a bunch of guys, able to bring in a bunch of lackeys that nobody cares about. But the moment that he walks in WWE, he has never, like, he's kind of in that Matt Hardy style era where it's like they probably can just be more successful at a competitive company than they can in the landscape of WWE, because their success depends so much upon the, like, where they sit in that company. If they're at the top of the ladder and they're able to pull in more talented people and hold up those more talented people, then, things like Broken Matt Hardy and things like Christian's characters, they really, really work. But the moment you throw them back into WWE, that gravitas goes away.
Yeah.
And, sure, I'd like to see Christian and LA Knight in the ring doing some back and forth right now. I think that would be great on the mic. But would I want that to be on a Mania card? Would I want any potential matchup that Christian can have in a WWE ring to headline a pay-per-view? I don't think so.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, I can see that. Because it goes to show they get that pop, but then what happens beyond the pop? Because they're going to be excited when they first see him. But yeah, thinking about like Hardy, that WrestleMania pop they had when they got back, and then it slowly turned into basically what it was before. The only thing that could be possibly different is, Triple H wouldn't feel that need to change them the way Vince did and then slowly just get back into that old habit. But
I mean, one way or another, Christian will be back at WWE because he and Edge will be influential forces in the Performance Center for decades once they hang up their shoes. That's where Daniel Bryan's going to end up. That's where all these guys, except for Jericho, when they retire, will do. They'll come back to WWE and they're going to train these young guns. Because you look at the roster of folks that AEW has that are, enmeshed with WWE, and all of them are career wrestling guys that seem to live pretty healthy lifestyles and would probably be really great teachers to the next generation whenever they wanted to do that. They could probably produce matches, train people, whatever they want to do. They'll be back at WWE one way or another.
I never would have thought that I would have ever heard CM Punk utter the words like, yeah, maybe when I'm done, I might stay, if Sean would have me or if Sean wants me to. I would consider taking, staying at the PC Center and training people. And you're right, I guess if the lifestyle allows it, but these guys are going to eventually all make their way back. But it's funny that you mentioned Jericho, just with all the, I don't know what's going on with Jericho, because he was the master of the reinvention. He was the master of, I know when to go away, to take a break, and to come back. He also feels like right now he's just doubling down and battling on Twitter, on social media, when I just feel like, don't. Just don't do that.
Yeah,
just
I think
don't.
that's a good summary of Chris Jericho right now.
Don't.
Just don't. Just don't.
Because now all this other weird stuff is leaking out, and then just like, and you hate to see it, and you don't want to do it, and then you have, it just comes off. It comes off weak when you feel like you need to fight on social media. It always just comes off a week. And this is coming from a company. Mario, remember when we were talking about this? I remember we were watching one of the pay-per-views, and I think we were here. We were like, I can't believe we live in a time where there might be a company that like legitimately is not only better than WWE, like WCW was, but they could win this battle.
Yeah.
And they won the NXT versus AEW war. They chased NXT off to another day. And we were just like, wow, we can't believe this is happening.
They pulled a Rocky where, like, you know, in Rocky where he knocks Apollo Creed down in the first round?
Yeah, they did. They knocked, it was a first round knockdown. And now fast forward to now, and it's like, it doesn't even seem like it's close now. It doesn't even seem like it's close. I mean, people.
I mean, name one active storyline that's going on in AEW right now that has matches associated with it. So the devil is out.
No, I mean, when you say AEW today, I think of Christian's turtleneck is like the thing that I gravitate to, but I don't really know what else is really.
Christian and Edge is a program they've been running, I guess, but that's like a WWE ass program, right? Like, at the time that they were super popular, most of the people that were in these matches, in all of these shows, 75% at least were AEW original guys. There's a real layer of that in the company. And now, it's like when I think about AEW, I imagine Tony Khan making weird faces as his wrestlers talk at those media scrums. I imagine fucking 700-year-old Keith Lee like slowly walking down to the ring so that he can put his match time in and get the fuck out of there.
Who told him to stop coloring his hair? That was the weirdest decision in the history of decisions.
I love it. I hope that Keith Lee does literally nothing for the rest of his career with AEW and then re-signs with WWE and just becomes Keith Lee again. I'm a big fan of the "It's a pity what happened to Keith Lee." If the rumors are true, I feel so bad for Keith Lee. Those rumors are, those memes are also very enjoyable. Yes. Probably one of the best things that's come out of AEW
in a while. Because I just don't think. I think the era of Vince McMahon hating the fans and then booking decisions based on how much he hates the fans, I think it's over. Like, there's a lot of people worried that, like, you're seeing the memes of, like, The Rock is back, so Cody's not going to finish his story. Triple H has to prove to me that he's going to do that. I just don't think he's going to do that, though. Triple H is not that kind of guy. Like Vince McMahon hated.
He is going to do that. I don't know that he's going to do it in this particular instance, but this business only works with the long-term storytelling that Triple H is trying to do.
Yeah.
By doing that, right? Cody lost the first time. That's Triple H's version of doing that.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the story. He's going to continue stringing that along and rely on the talent of his wrestlers to make sure that story continues to be meaningful when it comes up for the audience. And as he says, if the audience wants it, they'll do it. But I think within the context of that, there's, Triple H is still a motherfucker who is like the number 2 guy who married into Vince McMahon's family. To think that there is not some level of deep understanding and respect for the motherfucker that is Vince McMahon and his booking tendencies. Like face Booker Triple H is a thing that we're getting now.
Yeah.
That's at a certain point we will get heel Booker Triple H, and it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, and I don't know if it'll happen in the way that we kind of expect it to based on what we're used to, but you have to. It's the wrestling business. You have to send people home sad sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to do it. When he does it, it's going to fucking hurt, man.
Well,
it's going to be.
I guess the only time we saw him really do it is when he sent China home hurt because he wanted to get with Stephanie. I mean, that's heel. I mean, and that was that was before social media. So you're right. He's probably going to make that decision. But I just mean, in this aspect, I don't think it's going to be as clear cut as people are alluding to right now, where you think, oh, that's it. Okay, so now you got Punk is facing Rollins, and then you got, Roman's going to face Rock, and now Cody's out for WrestleMania, because there is no way that Roman Reigns is going to lose to The Rock. No way. That is a guaranteed L for The Rock. And because The Rock knows better too, and he wants Roman to stay over because they finally got him over, and he wants him to stay over. There's no way The Rock is going to come in and take that belt. And honestly, I think CM Punk is going to get his WrestleMania main event, but I don't think he's going to go over either. I think Seth Rollins is going to go. I think they're going to do with Punk and Rollins what they did with Cody last year. Like, I think Punk just got here. There's nowhere they're just going to throw the belt on him. So to me, that just seems too clear as day that those are the two main events, night 1 and night 2 for the men's division. And those who's going over just seems too clear. The X factor in this is everyone's like, you're not going to book The Rock versus Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber. But you know what? This isn't, Elimination Chamber in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. This is Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia, and it's going to be a huge show. They're not looking. The government's putting down has reportedly put down a ton of money to get The Rock involved. So like either way, whether it's The Rock in that match, he should show up there just based on the level of involvement and the amount of money that the local Perth government has put up to bring The Rock in there. Yeah. I feel like that's where they're going to book him. I think they're getting to that point where they realize, okay, we're the World Wrestling Federation, not the U.S. Wrestling Federation. And now having these, like, when they, doing these big stadium shows, I think that they've done, last year to show how big those shows are. They're like, why would we just have one night of WrestleMania when we can have 2 nights? Well, now it's, why would we just have 2 nights of WrestleMania? We want to have huge stadium shows so these other places in the world get these big events. And I don't think, how many times we've, most of the wrestling fans, even the younger fans, can go back. We've gotten The Rock at a WrestleMania main event. I don't think they need The Rock in a main event at WrestleMania to sell out WrestleMania. It's not needed. But it would. They don't book The Rock for the WrestleMania main event now. No. Remember, like, when The Rock takes on a main event in Mania now, he does it a year out. Like, yes. The entire economy of Mania is then built around The Rock. And so I even struggle to say that they would sign up The Rock to have a match at Perth officially on the books, because that pay-per-view, obviously you're going to have the chamber matches, and those probably will be like technically the main event. But from an individual match perspective, this event was timed because of Rhea Ripley's popularity. Rhea Ripley will be the individual match main event for Elimination Chamber. Yeah, no one's pop is going to be larger than hers. That's true. That's accurate. That's the nature of the business here. So if The Rock does show up, he's showing up in a match that is second, third, fourth off of the main event from that show, which I think is much more likely. It's much more likely that you have The Rock get involved in some way, either at Chamber or Mania or both, and that sets up some sort of Roman Reigns Rock official match with the standard Rock 1 year build associated with it. That to me makes a lot more sense.
But I also would love to see CM Punk bumped out of the main event of Mania because The Rock came back again.
Oh, God.
Like, to me, that is like, that's how I see Triple H being a heel booker. Is he's like, oh, we just brought in CM Punk, so you know what that means. Yo, Rocky, you want a main event Mania? Yeah, let's do it, brother. Let's do it. We got the Rock. We got the Rock for the main event. We got the Rock for the main event. And he goes in and tells Punk that again, and then that becomes the driver of Punk's heel turn. He's like, I thought it was different this time. I thought I was going to get my main event, but now I'm Satan, so I'm going to come for all you guys, right? Like,
then that would be. Yeah, that's. I was just thinking when I'm laughing too. I'm thinking of that kid who lost it and broke all his WWE DVDs when the Rock beat Punk at the Rumble that time. That's how you did it?
Yeah.
With a people's elbow?
Yeah. But that's the layered nature of the storytelling that's going on in WWE right now. They have a super stacked roster. Everyone has active storylines. All of those active storylines leading into the Rumble is one of the most exciting Rumble setups that I can remember. I literally do not care who wins. I'm more interested in seeing all of these overlaps, stories, narratives play out in the ring on both the men and women's side. Though I will say that I'm probably a little bit more interested in seeing which of the potential returns occur on the women's side. On the men's side, I'm most interested in seeing how some of these various storylines, how personalities like CM Punk, Logan Paul, these disparate people that have their own little things going on in their corner of the WWE universe, all being in a ring at the same time, just feels really, really exciting coming into this Rumble season.
We're very much at that period where we had that one of the best Royal Rumble posters of all time, that artwork where it just had all the wrestlers like they were in an alley coming down the street. But then when you look at it, you realize like, wow, you got Hulk Hogan, you got Ultimate Warrior, you got Kerry Von Erich, you got Roddy Piper, you got Macho Man. I feel like they could do that.
Man, Undertaker,
it's like
Bret Hart.
It's like, wow, you guys literally have that right now. And now it's this interweaving storyline of just like that's bleeding into real life and the storyline of just like now you got people, instead of like fantasy booking is like, I wonder who will win this match. Well, this person's this strong and I've seen him do this. And now they're like, the fantasy booking is us like, well, they got this purse show. Like we're trying to do a business analyst of why one person should get over. I was like, that's 2023 for you, 2024. Cause now you're like, well, when did the business story of AEW's mistake becoming AEW's, one of WWE's golden goose of this, like Cody cutting this shoot of a storyline that said he's going to finish the story, but then it accidentally finishing the story got attached to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, right. Where if you look at it, it's just like, go back. Like, no, finishing the story was just like holding that specific title over his head. It didn't have to be Roman and it didn't have to be WrestleMania. It just happens to be Roman has that belt and WrestleMania season's here. So it's tied to him, but it shouldn't be, but it is. But man, it's just, all they did was one little tease a couple of weeks ago where Roman and Cody came nose to nose, and you feel like that energy's there, but now you have all these other X factors, and that's a happiness problem, brother. That is a happiness problem that they have right now.
I just don't I don't think they can put Cody in the main event this year because I think Roman Reigns needs to win, because I think they're trying to erase Hulk Hogan.
That's the other thing. I was going to say they're trying to, they 100% want him to beat Hogan's record. They want that to happen. Yeah. And I
don't think you can have Cody lose more than 2 times back to back to back in a Mania main event. That just doesn't seem
it does not work.
A great way to finish the story.
Yeah, I don't even know how close Roman Reigns is to Hulk Hogan's record.
It's somewhere between 100 and 200 days. He would basically have to have it, I think. I think he could drop the belt at SummerSlam and beat Hogan's record.
Okay. I mean, I'm not against that, him beating Hogan's record. Oh yeah, it's 114.74 versus 1140. So yeah, they're only a couple of 100 days off. So I think you're right. I think he's going to keep that.
Has to.
Yeah.
There's no way. They're never going to be in the situation again where they have someone who's had the belt for 3 years, still has compelling narrative, and works on a part-time schedule that allows you to actually reach that threshold without having to have the entire roster job out to him.
Yeah.
It's a unique situation. They have to do it.
Yeah.
They have to.
I think you're right. Because Bruno's record wasn't even close, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not even close.
It's like double, I think, right? Like
we're literally only like less than 300 days away from him beating that record. There's no way. Like, so now how do you book? Like, so I understand that. And Cody never said, I need to finish the story immediately. Like he said, he did say he needs to finish the story. But I did not, when he came back out and reminded people he needed to finish the story, and then they just did this side quest with Shinsuke Nakamura. Mario, I was telling you, if you ever want to see the effect of Kevin Dunn being gone after the 30 to 40 year reign of his production, all you need to see is that Shinsuke Nakamura anime promo that they put in there that Vince never would have allowed. And it just added something so much, Mike, you were the one that first really got me into just like how over Shinsuke could be and how much they blew it. And then like, I imagine, man, if they would have did this version of Shinsuke, like right out of the gate, he would have shot to the top.
100%.
And then,
a mix, right? Like, I think you get rid of the red mist. I'm not wild about giving all Japanese wrestlers in WWE some sort of mist attack. That seems borderline racist. So I don't love the fact that he got a mist too. But beyond that, everything else that Nakamura has been doing has been great. We were talking about Nakamura all the way back when I was, living in Austin. I remember he had the King of Strong Style stuff really come out for the first time. Samoa Joe had just debuted in WWE, and we were like, ooh, if they could just get Nakamura over, and then they could do a title program with Nakamura and young Samoa Joe in WWE for the belt, that's where we're headed. Yeah. And then Samoa Joe never did anything. Shinsuke eventually came over, but was really more of a comedy relief mid-carder than anything else.
Yeah.
I think he should get some sort of larger title run, more than what he's done. I would love to see him be solidified in the history. Both him and Finn Balor have never really gotten the true respect that they deserve within WWE based on what they did on the international scene. And I feel like, if anything, figuring out a way to give those guys their flowers on a big stage is the kind of thing that Triple H will figure out a way to do.
Yeah, and Finn's close too, because finally, Judgment Day, the way that came together, that pulled, and then got, obviously got Rhea Ripley over, but it does feel like that Dom has so much organic, natural heat that Finn sometimes could be drowned out of how important he is to that group, and I think they realize that, but they're like, you got to ride this Dom thing out. They have to ride this.
Yeah, Finn's milquetoast as fuck, dude. Like, he is just coming in, doing his job. He has no personality. He and JD McDonough are like strikingly similar in terms of the role that they play in the Judgment Day, and I just think that says a lot about more. I think it says more about, at this stage in Finn's career, he's probably more focused on uplifting and supporting young talent and helping to get them over than he is focused on his own agency to drive his position within the organization. It feels like Finn kind of missed his window. He had a real opportunity when they put the Universal belt on him that first time. If he hadn't gotten injured, he would be one of the top stars in the company, but that kind of wrote his ticket. I still hope to see something really meaningful from him in the past, but my favorite member of Judgment Day is obviously R-Truth. The video that he did the other day, and all of the not only that video, but then the weaving storyline involving the Judgment Day and R-Truth that occurs throughout that entire 3-hour episode. It's the kind of stuff that only R-Truth could really pull off. I feel like it's the WWE's version of Orange Cassidy, this like clueless character that knows nothing about reality and is just completely delusional and really cool and happy about it, is very similar to the kind of styling that you can do without the in-ring aspect to that character.
I think Kevin Dunn being gone is helping that too. Just even like you said, that first video of just like R-Truth, like a heartfelt, something that looked like NFL films, talking about
So
his
good.
history with the,
I remember when I was a baby, I told the doctor, someday I'm going to be in Judgment Day. Fucking baby picture with Finn Balor with a beard and JD McDonough with a normal sized head. And then photoshopping R-Truth alongside all of the key moments in the Judgment Day's history.
Oh, man,
And then
it's been
to
so
just
good.
lean in on R-Truth's complete lack of like connection with reality. He also throws in Your House Judgment Day as if that has anything to do with the Judgment Day, the group itself. I'm surprised he didn't find things outside of WWE to include in that as well.
Exactly.
And then to kind of work its way all the way through in that video package to get to the point where he says Tom and Nick Mysterio. And at first you're just like, Tom and Nick Mysterio. So he thinks there's two different Mysterio people, and then you kind of reflect on it for a little bit, and it's like 30 minutes, an hour later, you're like, oh shit. So it's like Dominic, Tom and Nick. He just thinks they're there's two people involved in that single name, and they don't explain it. They don't do anything. They let it breathe.
Yeah, they just let
It's
it.
just really working. Really working.
Who got like? How do you walk in and just like, okay, we're gonna bring R-Truth back, and that could have just been a throwaway spot, and then it turned into some of the greatest television. Again, part of the stuff that they're doing. You know,
Great. Yeah.
It's
great
ju-
businesses. Great businesses today rely on high agency individual contributors, and that's exactly the approach that Nick Khan. I believe this is probably driven more by Nick Khan and facilitated by Triple H. That they're giving more creative control and creative power to the individual contributors, which in this case are the wrestlers, and that if you're high agency, you're out there. Like, this is the way that I describe high agency when I'm at work, right? Like a low agent. So we're on a plane, we're going on a business trip. The plane crashes. We're on a desert island stranded in the middle of the ocean. A low agency person will sit on the island and hope that a ship comes by, or hope that a plane flies overhead, and hope that somebody comes to rescue them. Right? That's very precious. It's not how the world works in 2024.
No.
A high agency individual is on the island, understands it's their job to get themselves off of that island, and will do everything in their power to get themselves off of that island. And that feels like, R-Truth is just a super high agency individual. He was given creative bits. He killed those bits, so they gave him a little bit more. He killed those bits. He was figuring out how to get off of the island of each one of those bits that he was given to reach the civilization, reach the mainland. And now he's involved in a mainline storyline that is occurring throughout the entire episodes and probably over multiple episodes. It's one of the things that's getting the most buzz, getting talked about the most. And I think it really just has to do with how high agency R-Truth is. Tozawa has been given similar comedy spots, raised up to a certain level, but hit the ceiling once he didn't know how to get beyond doing his little dance. He didn't have the next step in the quiver. R-Truth was fucking ready, man.
Yeah,
he was ready.
He 100% was, and credit to whoever let him walk in the door and say, this is the first thing we're going to have you do, because man, it brought it transferred some of the Dom heat, transferred some of the Rhea being over, and it helped JD in every aspect of just like, it was basically when people saw JD McDonough in Judgment Day, everybody pretty much thought, who the hell is this guy? And basically
calling him a bobblehead and all that shit.
Exactly. They had no idea who he was. R-Truth said, yeah, who is this guy? And ran with it. And now
Right.
you know who he is. I
Yeah.
mean, he helped
Yeah.
get him over to a sense. So I was worried about the Bloodline storyline has been going on for years. Like you said, long-term storytelling. And it feels like it's finally getting to that point where it's pulling back just a little bit. And I'm really shocked that Judgment Day was able to kind of basically slot in there nicely and have like 3 or 4 different storylines going with that group alone, which is great.
Yeah, Judgment Day, no reason why they should still exist as a faction.
No,
as
exactly.
popular as they are.
Not at all.
You know, it was like Edge made them. Edge left the group. When that happened, you were kind of like, okay, well, Judgment Day is going to be this mid-card group now. It's full of mid-carders. Nobody cares about any of these people. Then Rhea becomes the champion. Dom becomes the biggest heat magnet in the business. Damian Priest gets over by winning Money in the Bank. And Finn Balor plays that role of veteran in the group, kind of holding things together in a way that I think is probably much better than what Edge would have been able to do, because Edge isn't ready to be out of the spotlight. Finn Balor feels like he's ready to be out of the spotlight a little bit and to help facilitate from the background. And I believe that that's probably one of the major reasons why Judgment Day has been as successful as it is because they got rid of Edge. They gave it to this guy over here. They had a lot more synergy as a group, and they figured out a way to stay relevant, to stay meaningful. And those storylines are still ongoing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Damian Priest cash in at WrestleMania. I wouldn't be surprised to see, the tag team championship match be a banger with DIY. I also wouldn't be surprised to see Rhea Ripley hold the belt for 2 more years, or Dom rise up the card and dethrone Gunther. Like, there's so many things that this group is still potentially going to do. Maybe, and this is maybe a hot take, but potentially the WWE's best manufactured group with talent that has never worked in any other major promotion since The Shield.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot.
That says a ton. That says a ton. And it just hit me that you're right. This feels very Four Horsemen in the sense where I would have pegged Finn Balor as Arn Anderson, of just like the guy that's he is somewhat the enforcer in that group, because he's not, when they step forward, they don't necessarily know who's the leader, and they're playing that up a little. Damien's I'm the leader, Rhea's I'm the leader. But Rhea is that Ric Flair figure in there right now, where she's getting all the spotlight, which means that Finn is going to be the Arn Anderson of that. And now we're coming up, Royal Rumble season into WrestleMania, and you have potentials of all the current stars being so over. Then you, like you said, you can have Rock Roman. You can finally get the payoff of that Stone Cold and CM Punk thing that was promised years ago. I mean, there's just so much that could happen right now. When you can't clearly see it, that's exciting.
I love it, and I feel like there's so much on the table. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Royal Rumble do a heel turn, and the fucking final 2 in the Royal Rumble are Jinder Mahal and R-Truth. I could see him go that way too. And at the end of the day, fans would probably not be pissed if none of the things that made sense to happen happened.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably going to be something that goes on for a long time, primarily from the fact that fans right now are more conditioned to the reality that they can't get all the matches they want in the next pay-per-view.
No,
right?
no way.
When the Sammy stuff was going on with the Bloodline, everyone was like, Sammy's got to take the belt. Sammy's going to take it at the next pay-per-view. They need to do this thing. They're going to pull the trigger on Sammy, give him the belt, put the belt on him, and everyone's talking about it. That problem, I believe, is the driving force behind Triple H's approach to booking right now. He wants to be in a situation where there's a overflowing basket of potential matches, and that in any given pay-per-view, you talk to 10 different people, you're going to get 3 to 5 different things that they want to see the most. And that's going to give the bookers at WWE a lot more flexibility to do what they want to do and not have a binary judgment method that's applied to it where it's like Cody lost, that's bad, or Sammy lost, that's bad because we wanted Sammy to win. Now we're in the situation where everyone's kind of standing on the stump, and at any given time, WWE can choose the direction that they're going to jump in, right? Like CM Punk, jump over to Seth Rollins. CM Punk, get back on the stump, jump over to Drew McIntyre. Oh, by the way, WWE Universe, that match is going to be CM Punk's Royal Rumble win, and it's going to be his main event at Mania. But guess what? We've been planning this to be a triple threat since his debut when both Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins walked out, had shoot style shoot style work style shoot moments around CM Punk's debut. Since the first moment, they've been driving this storyline. They're building this storyline over time. You look at it week to week, it goes CM Punk debuts. CM Punk makes his opening speech return thing. CM Punk then talks to Seth. Then Seth talks to Drew. Then CM Punk talks to Drew and says, you're going to be the last person that I eliminate at the Royal Rumble. We're getting into our fantasy booking at the Royal Rumble scenarios here. I think we're going to see something along the lines of a skin the cat style moment or a double elimination style moment that sees both Drew and CM Punk be eliminated around the same time. CM Punk is treated as the victor, but then in the Raw after in the subsequent weeks, there's enough gray area there that match becomes a triple threat and we get Seth, Drew, and Punk because you got to get that belt off Seth. You can't have Seth leave WrestleMania with that belt. So I think you have two options. You either have Priest cash in, make it a triple threat, or do it after the match. Probably more likely to make it a triple threat, just given all of the stuff that's happened so far narratively. So it's either Priest walks away with that belt, or Drew McIntyre walks away with that belt. I think there's a longer shot chance that Punk walks away with that belt, but you can't leave that belt on Seth. It's dying on him.
You think that's it for him? So I can see that. I just don't feel like they're gonna put it on Punk right away, but that is a definitely an option they can go with.
It's like they introduced the secondary belt where, it's like everyone was like, oh, well, they're just making a new belt because Roman can't lose the belt. And then they give the belt to fucking Seth and he can't lose the belt. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you have two long-term champions going on when you made this belt to be transition?
You're 100% right. I like where you're going with that, where that becomes people aren't going to expect it when it happens, but when it happens, I don't think they're going to hate it.
No.
And we got to get to that point where we just can't, when we don't get, the fans don't get what they want with the match, they're just like, they turn away. Because remember, we used to have that happen all the time. And we still came back to more, and it didn't break the fans like it does now. I remember the whole thing before with Sting. Flair didn't give him that belt for a long time. Luger was another one. Like, Luger's like, okay, he's going to be the next Hulk Hogan. This is it. He's got it. And Ric Flair still found a way to win, but you didn't that's it. I'm not watching this shit anymore. Like, you were able to get mad and keep going.
Isn't this the first time that we've talked wrestling on Dosing Credibless since WrestleMania?
Probably, yeah.
You went through a moment like that?
Yeah, exactly.
You gave it up, right?
I did,
Cody didn't win.
Yeah.
This sucks. Fuck this. We're not going to talk about it. I'm not going to watch it anymore.
I got to that point where just like it felt personal, where you just felt like Vince was pissing on the fans because he doesn't like the fans because he's a billionaire now. And it felt like, oh, this is not a storytelling decision. This is I don't like you decision, and you're not going to tell me what to do because I'm a self-made man. Like, it felt more personal, where now it's got to get back to, we're talking about it now because you realize, like, okay, especially with Triple H, this is storytelling and you got to keep going with the story. And Vince never came right out and said that, even if that's what he was doing in his mind or not. I still don't think he was, but Triple H did say, just keep watching. We're telling the story. Just like keep watching, and it's gonna go. And I I'm to the point where I'm thinking now, after last year, I was just like, well, Vince just did that because he hates the fans. Where now this year, I'm thinking, well, why is Cody tied to finishing the story at WrestleMania and Roman? Wouldn't it mean a little bit more like come around and Cody somehow gets a different match at WrestleMania and then Money in the Bank comes around? Now, Cody walking around with that briefcase for a year and meaning now he can finish the story at any time. Does that mean more than him finishing the story at WrestleMania?
Wasn't that the original plan too? Was that he was going to win Money in the Bank, but then he tore his pec, and so they had to do the Royal Rumble as kind of like a backup plan?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I feel like that's where the rumors were at that point. Another layer, another wrinkle to that is that the notion around SummerSlam is that they think SummerSlam is going to be booked in Madison Square Garden, and that for a moment, like they're looking for Cody, that it's very likely that where they are will matter just as much, if not more, than what the pay-per-view is.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it could finish the story anywhere and any time, and it makes it that feels like that would carry just as much gravitas. It doesn't take away that it didn't happen in WrestleMania because the story didn't begin at a WrestleMania. The story began at a Madison Square Garden before WrestleMania even existed. You know, and with Dusty, and it was still something that Cody just kind of like built in his head as a child of how he saw his dad was handled, and where he, you know, at least he had the excuse he was a kid, where Tony Khan doesn't have that excuse now of understanding why the storytelling is more important than wins and losses. But he was a kid and he's like, okay, I didn't see I'm confused why you didn't get the belt. So he's like, this is compelling, you know, because it was true. I could be anywhere.
It also feels like with this new added layer of Nick Aldis trying to big man Roman, right? Like he's putting him in a fatal four-way as like one of the first real things that he's doing that's showing an offensive front to the head of the table. And I think that it's much more likely at this stage, given the landscape of wrestling, where WWE is, that in some way, shape, or form, you have Nick Aldis screw Roman over to get the belt off Roman, that it's not a clean babyface defeats the heel at WrestleMania moment, that it's much more likely Roman Reigns gets screwed, loses the belt because of his part-time status. That's a long-term storyline that could kind of run for a period of time. Maybe he cares about the belt. Maybe he doesn't even care. He says, hey, Nick Aldis fucked me over. I don't need the belt to be the head of the table. I know I'm the best. I'll beat anybody, blah, 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 right? Like that could still happen.
Yeah.
So I see it, the way I see it is that it's very likely, if you're going to try to long-term book this, you have Roman lose the belt at a meaningless historical moment, like a Backlash or, you know, some pay-per-view that's not really on the radar, not one of the big four. You have him get screwed over, so some external thing comes in, makes him lose the belt. Maybe he doesn't get pinned. Maybe it's another triple threat or fatal four-way style situation, so he doesn't come off looking weak, that he actually lost the belt.
Right.
That belt then gets transitioned a few times. Eventually, Cody wins it off of some very heelish style. Maybe it's a Shinsuke style thing. Belt lands on Shinsuke. Now it's a belt-based feud, or it lands on Brock. You know, some sort of echo from the Cody narrative where he beats some monster to get the belt. And then you get the final Mania blow-off where Cody holds the belt going in. Roman's trying to get the belt back, but he's in an extremely part-time scenario at that stage. So you really don't know who's going to win, and you think it's much more likely that Cody wins than Roman. I think that's a much better Mania moment setup for both of them than just having Cody finish the story by beating Roman. They have so many threads to pull on right now. They need to pull on them all one at a time. You can't make a rope out of these things and just yank it out of the wall.
Right. No, that's a good one. I mean, they have that happiness problem of where they have multiple storylines going. And even just simple lines mean so much now. Like, you know, when Punk's promo on Raw, when he's like, nobody's stopping me from winning the Rumble. You're not Drew's not and Cody's not, and because Punk knew that it's just like even just saying something like that, is going to put him in a money match situation where it's going to be like Punk's like I have a story to finish too. And that could be just as compelling as well. Like, what if it comes like WrestleMania? He doesn't end up with Seth. The main event somehow ends up where it's Cody versus Punk and the battle of the story to people who want to finish their stories.
I mean, I'm sorry, man, but I love what Punk is doing. I just think he comes off in the ring right now as the consummate professional. It feels like there is no one in wrestling that is better at getting the best out of his opponents on the mic.
Yeah.
That's really fucking hard to do. It's easy to get the best out of your opponents in the ring, with all of these ring technicians that are just so good at making others look good. That's their whole career. Punk can do that on the mic. He's got that it factor, man. I just feel like every time that he's talking to somebody, the exchanges, the conversations that they're having, it rings true to me on a subconscious kind of lizard brain level that I just don't get from anybody else in the business now or really potentially ever.
Yeah. And Drew was paint drying for the longest time, and the most interested you've ever been in Drew was when he was going one-on-one with Punk on the mic. You were like, oh, Drew, now you got something to say.
It's the old adage about swimming as fast as the swimmer in the lane next to you. And I think the thing about Punk is that there's such a mystique about him. He's larger than life. He's bigger than the business. Everybody has an opinion on him. And, truth be told, with WWE, I feel like they can try to fight it for as long as they want. They can have as many plans as they want about what they want to do with this amazing, talented roster that they've built up with all these folks just coming out of the woodwork. This place is leaking with the best professional wrestlers ever to work in the business. But Punk is that much better than all of them to me, that he's eventually going to get the belt. He's eventually going to have another historic run. I think that's where the smirk and a lot of and the happiness in the face portion of it comes in, is that he's gotten back into the WWE, he's standing in the ring, he's standing in the locker room with all of these folks, and it's not a question for him anymore. I believe that he's coming into this point where, once again, he is confident in the fact that he is the best in the world at doing this. You can't, again, it's like, sure, maybe Cody can finish the story, but I'd rather see CM Punk take that belt.
What do you think, Mario?
Poor guy, but I don't like baby faces.
Are you compelled to tune back in now? I know you've been on a little bit of a hiatus from WWE. Is it compelled to turn the channel back on?
Yeah, I'll check it out. Sorry, I turned everything off. You said you had nothing to say about current wrestling. You just talked about it for 70 minutes.
I know.
Yeah, I'll tune back in. I'm going to check it out. I've been on a wrestling hiatus. I think you guys caught me up, but I mean, what I'm hearing is good. I just, I'm still getting over all of the AEW disappointment because I was a big fan. But but we'll see. We should always have an asterisk or maybe even a bottom scroll at the bottom of just like, we do not hate AEW. We want all wrestling companies to succeed. I wish NWA can get.
I don't know, man. I would have a disclaimer on the disclaimer for that, because I've never really. I was a CM Punk fan when he was in AEW, but I don't know that I ever really kind of went majorly over on them, and they're so TNA at this point that
That's sad. That is the point of where that is. I feel that insult by saying that they are so TNA now, because TNA was always that man, you guys are trying really hard.
Yeah, fucking tryhards.
Yeah, yes. You're just trying so hard. But I guess maybe in the beginning, like you said, AEW didn't feel like they were trying. And now
Totally.
the guys, it has nothing to do with the talent in the back, but I think now Tony has become the worst enemy and the problem. So, but yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, but Royal Rumble season and WrestleMania season, the road to WrestleMania starts at the Royal Rumble, and that's always a fun time. It's almost like the people say, I don't really watch the NBA until it's playoffs time, or I don't watch baseball till it's it's time for the playoffs. Well, that's WWE between January and April. You're going to get their best stuff, and at a time now where they have a lot of stuff to work with.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't been watching the product and you are jumping back in, I would suggest not familiarizing yourself with any of the great stuff that's been going on. Just watch the Royal Rumble. If the Royal Rumble is super compelling, if they can translate any of the energy they've been building with all these multiple storylines into a compelling and accessible pay-per-view that can reach casual fans that are not super involved and people that know every detail of every aspect of every storyline, then I think that really shows that WWE has turned the corner. And if it doesn't scratch that itch for you, you watch the Royal Rumble and you're like, yeah, that was fine, but it's nothing special. I don't feel like I'm in 1994 or something. Then just don't watch it. Maybe catch the highlights from Mania, but that would be my approach.
It's going to be interesting because this is going to be that first WrestleMania under the TKO, Nick Khan, Triple H banner with no Vince really, even because you always felt like Vince had a little bit of say, and you just don't feel that. You don't feel that anymore. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, you're right, Mario. I said I had nothing really to say about it, but I guess you're always going to have a say about it. It's kind of like, a relationship that you say, I don't have anything more to say about it. And by the way, and then, you just let your hair blow.
You send a fucking 5-page text message.
Yeah, exactly. It's just send this word wall. I was like, just one more thing. So, yep, here we go. I think it's a good spot to stop.
Well, I guess I kind of had a go-home spot in mind. So
yeah, go for it.
Jeff, two things here. Who would you like to see win the Men's Royal Rumble? That can be quick. Don't need a bunch of extra detail on top of that. Number two, what is one surprise entrant that you would love to see?
Okay, guys, you only have till the end of the music.
Oh, I'm going with CM Punk. I want CM Punk to get it because he never did it, and I love when somebody who never won the Rumble wins the Rumble. And if the surprise entrant, which a lot of people won't like, but I'll like, because there's a picture that showed Hogan with Roman Reigns as a little kid. If he does tie that record at WrestleMania, I'd like to see some kind of physical passing of the torch, even though he's going to get booed.
I say, my surprise entrant, send in Tony Khan, have him be eliminated in 5 seconds by Jinder Mahal. That's it.
That would be the way, and then you never hinder the Jinder ever again.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. All right, Mike. Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
All right, we'll see you soon. We won't, well, yeah, we'll just say that. See you soon.